Hello, sumo fans.
We are back.
And congratulations to
Kiribayama! Yay!
He gets the big first page treatment now.
He doesn't get the cherry blossoms. He gets the fish banners.
The summer fish banners. He gets a little bit of salt in his face. Unfortunately, they got the picture. They didn't Photoshop it out.
No. Maybe they wanted it.
Maybe, yeah.
They wanted the sumo spirit.
the sumo salt coming on in. Yeah, well done, Kiribayama, bringing it to playoff.
Wonderful stuff. After a lot of downers in this tournament, we had to have a nice finish to the end.
It's really good. Daieisho fighting like hell.
Yeah.
Not an easy match, but we're going to get into all of that. There is so much to talk about, and it is nice. Now that you're doing these live streams, it's actually nice because a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about is it's a perfect run-in for the wrap-up show.
We can just start talking about it.
I know. It's a good primer. It's good to know that people are sort of we're getting our wavelength with everybody in the group.
They know when to expect us.
Exactly.
It's good. And we're over 100 subscribers.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We hit triple digits.
Yeah, that's sweet.
That's fun. Got 100. Yeah. I always try to imagine our followers, you go into an auditorium and then you're on the stage and you look out. And so a couple of years ago, we had 10 subscribers. So you just, some people barely filling the front row. But now we're getting a nice setting.
You get at least 3 or 4 rows out of that
one. A couple of hours, yeah. It's fun. It's good.
It's kind of like this Osaka Basho where the crowd's allowed to yell again, and you can just feel the intensity.
It was as we hoped. It was great when the favorites lost. And everybody was
the grumble. Yeah, and then when people won, you felt like the whole roof was going to just fly off.
Shodai versus Ura. They went nuts on that. That was cheers for
You can see people crying when their favorite guy loses. I mean, it's what we've been waiting for years.
It's the grand return. Not speaking about the grand return. We're going to start at the top as we always do. This is probably the first time in recent memory that I want to just get the top out of the way.
I know, right?
It's so weird, but well, we'll talk about it.
That's where we are.
We will start at the top as we always do with Terunofuji, who was 0-0-15 because his knees were not quite ready for prime time. But it's May for real, actually, this time, allegedly, supposedly, maybe. So we are noticing that now that Terunofuji is doing things that Yokozunas have been doing for a little while, unfortunately due to injury and things beyond his control, that we're in this weird power vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And the lack of dominance up until very, very recently made for this weird, lame duck sumo.
Yeah, it was for years we had Hakuho. Even if he was out of a tournament, you almost still felt his presence. Mm-hmm. And it almost felt like he was never going to retire, so there was always the threat of the Yokozuna. And then in his final tournament where he beat Terunofuji, and then Terunofuji just, rises up and takes the place, it feels like, okay, everything it'll just work out. And now we're in a place where it's maybe it won't.
Maybe not. Well, it's third tournament of sitting out in a row means that it's been a half year since we've seen him in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of the recency, the in the moment nature of sumo means that we're sort of is he coming back? Is he going to be okay when he comes back?
There's a lot of rumors out there that say that he's not, and they're just rumors. But there are people who are saying, we're looking at Kisano Sato. I hope they are all wrong.
Yes. The hope is that he comes back and that it is that he does not want to come back on 80%. He does not want to come back on 70% knees. He wants to come back on the closest he can get to 100% knees.
Right. I mean, basically, he's making the decision that makes sense. So there's no reason, if you don't have some other sort of information, to worry about that decision in and of itself.
So we will hope for a May return. I think that a good Zenso show will put everybody to rest.
Would be nice.
I'll settle for a 13-2.
Yeah, if somebody could just only lose twice. Yeah. Because we're getting a lot of 12-3s these days.
A lot of 12-3s. So, Terunofuji, we will look forward. And, of course, I hope that you feel better.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we don't want you to, be killing yourself out there.
We were going to rest up, but then I heard some loser in America wanted me to come back, so here I am.
And it's all his fault.
All my fault. Just like it always is. Okay, so the Debbie Downer unfortunately. I'm going to say a little bit about this, and I'm going to let you
take the reins.
So Takakeisho 3, 4, and 8, unfortunately putting an end to all of this momentum.
The dream. So I spent a lot of time on the live streams talking about Takakeisho. I'm just going to condense this for those who have heard me go on and on and on like a maniac. But, you know, the big question about Takakeisho in general is just, would Takakeisho even be at Ozeki if we had the sumo we had of 10 years ago? I don't know. His biggest problem is injuries. It's not lack of effort. It's not lack of ability. He's the strongest man in sumo behind, you know, maybe some of the younger guys are going to take that mantle. Terunofuji, I mean, his upper body is, you know,
immense. It's
immense, but at the same time, Takakeisho has been able to blast him out. So what does that say? But there's a limit to what he's capable of doing. We've discussed this a million times. He doesn't have the physical body to transition into throwing sumo. And Yokozunas don't typically live and die by, you know, the slaps. So he's already got all this against him, but because there's such a hole in sumo, he was able to rise where he is, and I think he has done everything he can to be Ozeki. I don't question his Ozeki status. But it just looks like time has run out for the Yokozuna run. This was the time.
It felt like this was about as good a shot as he was going to get.
He's just going to get older and older. And if he's getting injured now, like the injuries are just going to... It's just... Yeah. It's what it is. But picture a world where Takakeisho is not here. What would sumo have looked like in the past 5 years?
It would have been a disaster. But when we had the cattle bonds running into Sanyaku running down, that whole thing, like he was the pillar holding it up.
Yeah, this whole time, like when Takakeisho came in, he took Tochinoshin's spot. They swapped. He beat him on the last day. They swapped. Then Tochinoshin completely falls out because he's physically not able to do it. And all that time, Takakeisho, with the exception of the one Nozeki Wake thing, Takakeisho endured while everybody else fell out. Every time you could at least be assured that Takakeisho was an Ozeki. So for better, for worse, for whatever comments are out there, Takakeisho kept sumo going. And it's like what we were talking about in the live stream. Ozeki is a burden.
Yes.
He has shouldered the burden of Ozeki, where you get to be the top guy, but you're not the top guy, and you get all the pressure, none of the accolades, but you just do it because you're supposed to do it. And Takakeisho has taken the duty part of this very seriously. He's put his body at risk, and no matter what history says about him, I think he's awesome. So there. Just gotta throw that out there. But unfortunately, you know, to get a little more into what's going on, he hurt his meniscus. I don't know if it's a tear. They didn't give a lot of details. I don't know if it's a tear or what the deal is. He's Katabon now. Now we're talking about not only did he not get his Yokozuna run and, you know, isn't in the conversation, now he has to fight just to keep his rank. I mean, it's like, what the hell? Seriously. So I don't know what we're going to see in the future from him. But very next tournament, hopefully he's healed or else we lose another one.
Yeah, he's worth noting that the only time that he did dip out of Ozeki was when he decided to make the smart call of sitting out rather than coming back in a hobble and trying to save the rank. And then when he did go down to Sekiwake, he rallied back and he's been fine ever since in terms of holding the rank.
And he very easily got his 10 wins too. It wasn't like, oh, he struggled for it. So yeah, I mean, he might be in a situation where he has to do that again, depending on the severity of the injury.
I would say as the caveat that even if he needs to sit out May, when he comes back in July, I have every confidence that he'll be able to get those wins back.
But should he do that, once again, nobody at the top.
Nobody at the top.
So,
but there's something to hear about that.
Yes.
My final notice on Takakeisho, which is a little unfortunate and sort of puts the nail in this Yokozuna coffin for me, is he was gunning for it. He wanted it. And I feel like he literally broke his body trying to get it.
Yeah.
And that is about exactly what happened about 2 years ago when this first thing came through, is that he wanted it so bad. He pushed for it. He risked it, and then it just, something broke. Something snapped, and so I feel like that is what's going to happen to him. And
yeah,
that's the very thing that got him as this soul pillar holding up sumo. So
sacrificing his body
for the greater good, providing the lone pillar.
Yeah.
So it is. So I feel like he's just the guy who's getting it done for us. So thank you, Takakeisho, for that.
Yes, we appreciate you, even if you never make Yokozuna. And let's just hope his career. Let's hope his career goes as long as it can without anything really bad happening, because he does have a tendency, and I think this is going to be a theme with some other people we're going to talk about. He has a tendency to throw it so out on the line that like his career could end in a very, very bad way. So
he's
knocking on all the woods again.
Yeah. To be fair to him, he's bounced back from injuries many times.
He has,
and
like no other.
So I'm never worried about him falling and not getting up.
True.
It's just you hate seeing him fall.
Yeah. Yes.
So Takakeisho will be back for you. Hopefully you'll be back for us. But service is rendered on our behalf.
Yes.
So next up, another Debbie Downer. Wakatakage Sekiwaki 1E 7-7-1, and Crusher. It's rough because he has the same week 1 curse. This is about as bad as it's ever been. With the 0-5, it's never been an 0-5, but it has been the difference between Sekiwake and Ozeki for him has been that first week, and he just couldn't get it together. And here's the thing, let's say he beats Abi. That's a 6. That's an 8-6-1.
Yeah.
And he's still Sekiwake.
Yeah.
It is, and this is the razor's edge that comes when you're stuck at that point, just trying to get up to Ozeki, and that pressure, whatever that week 1 pressure is just he couldn't get over it, and then just the luck hits, and this is what happens to anybody. And we've talked about this to death when it came to Takanosho, who sort of just 9-5 career Sanyaku, doing fine, and then gets the injury, falls down, and he's still struggling. And then we have Mitakeumi, famously, career Sanyaku, beats everybody, but just can't get to Ozeki. And then he finally does, and then theoretically gets injured, maybe. And he's had some sort of a collapse as well. So Wakatakage is unfortunately the next person in this trend of... And this, again, makes a bigger emphasis on this is how hard Ozeki is to even get there, and then it's even harder to maintain. That somebody as good as Wakatakage can't get over the hurdle, and now he's going to be knocked down a peg. He'll still be in Sanyaku, so theoretically, if it was any other injury, that he'd just come back in May and re-rack.
But the concern is we're talking like ACL, meniscus, like also there was like a list a mile long of all the things that he said was wrong, but ACL concerns me greatly. That's something that usually requires surgery. That's something that usually requires a lot of time to recover from, because if you come back too early, you either re-injure that one or you tear the other one, and your career could be over. So I don't know. I'm a little worried he's not coming back in May, and he's dumping right out, and here we go again.
Yep.
Another great, talented guy out by injury.
Out by injury, has to rebuild from
the bottom up.
From the worse than scratch. It's like he ran out of flour. He has to go get the flour before he could even start again.
I know, seriously. And of all guys, I don't want to see it get any of our 3 guys here, our Waka, Hoshoryu, Kiribayama. They're supposed to be our rocks.
Yes.
We can't lose one of them. So, man. And right on day 14 of all times.
Oh, it's so rough because he would have gone in because he was 7-6 fighting Kiribayama. That was an exciting fight, and then we can talk about that when we get to Kiribayama. But that would have been exciting because Kiribayama's chasing Yusho. He's chasing his Kachikoshi to save rank. That's a lot of pressure on both sides. It would have been very exciting, but then But this is, on the other hand, if he had gotten to Ozeki before this, maybe he would have been able to hold it.
Yeah.
But whatever. That struggle, that first week, I would say, is more of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should have been able to take Tamawashi and Mitakeumi at the very least.
Yes.
So if he takes Tamawashi, Mitakeumi, and Abi, we're talking about a very different situation right now.
Yeah, and the week 2 Wakatakage right here, beating Midorifuji and Kotonowaka, he single-handedly knocked out everybody except Kiribayama, and could have also knocked out Kiribayama.
And let me say this, and I'm going to get more into this when we go down a little further. Had he not been so desperate, he might have had a different type of match with Kotonowaka and not getting injured in the first place. I am going to just throw this out there. I'm sure no sumo wrestlers, listen to this podcast, but guys, stop fighting Kotonowaka like this. He has taken out 3 guys now. Well, 2 guys, and he could have taken out a 3rd today. Guys, you have to be careful when you fight Kotonowaka. I'm telling you. Please, we're talking career ending for Ishiura. Ishiura is, he hasn't even practiced. He's in Jonidan now from getting a neck injury fighting Kotonowaka. Then Wakatakage on the edge of Kotonowaka tears everything in his leg. And then Wakamotoharu, we'll get to that match.
Oh boy, that was... Ugh.
Okay, so everybody, be wary. He's the new Tamawashi. And he's young, so he's going to be around for a while.
Bet. But, so, Wakatakage needs that first week figured out still, whatever the nerves, the pressure, the warming up. He needs to get his knees fixed first and foremost.
Yep.
Hoping for a speedy recovery, and then in May, he's just sort of a little tentative, maybe in Kamasubi. If he needs the extra Yusho, he's mid-Megashira, which is going to be bad news for everybody in mid-Megashira, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get 14-1 without trying. All right. So, hopefully, a better ending to this story for him.
Yes, we are going to enter into hope soon.
Yeah. So, good news. Speaking of hope, this ends the Debbie Downer part of the upper area. From here on in, all the times that we're talking about people, well, there's a couple at the very bottom. There'll be a few things I'll be sad about, but everything else here is just really optimistic news, or I'm sorry, but you just got thrown in a hungry Shark Tank.
Yes.
And you looked a lot like food. And that's that's what
sumo.
happens. So we're going to go over to Hungry Shark number 1, Hoshoryu 10-5.
The Hungry Shark.
The Hungry Shark. He continues to be not just aggressive, powerful, but really fun to watch. And there's a couple of fun things about him this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I will notice will be the what I'll call the nice discussion, which is a lot of his deep techniques. And beforehand, I had talked about how he sort of would get that freezing up, that he knows so many things that he doesn't know what to do with them. When he fought Midorifuji, which, by the way, Midorifuji, the on-fire Midorifuji, the I'm getting the cup from under you, he went through, in front of us, 10 different moves. And he's just try this, that didn't work. Meanwhile, Midorifuji coming after him the whole time. It's not like Midorifuji's just standing there like a practice dummy. He's attacking. He tries to trip Hoshoryu. Hoshoryu's nah. Perfect counter. Goes through this whole thing. It was fascinating to watch. And it was fast. It was crisp. When he fought Endo, his Tachi was so fast that it looked like he was in regular time on slow motion.
Yeah, it was weird.
So he has got it together, and it is fun to watch. And that's going to bring us over to the new title for Hoshoryu.
He does have a new title from us. He is the Henka King. And let me explain this, okay? For all the bad, frustrating, I'm pulling my hair out of my head Henkas that he does, they look beautiful. But here's where I'm going to give him the credit. The way he handles people who Henka him is amazing.
So much fun.
I love the revenge on a Henker, okay? He made... Who was it Who was it that he...
Tobizaru.
He made Tobizaru look like a fool.
Yeah.
And I think he sent a message out there to everyone. If you're going to Henka me, you're going to look stupid.
Yeah. During the Endo fight, I don't know.
Endo was the other one.
Endo is the other one. So Endo did do legit Henkas earlier in the tournament. So I'm sort of like, I don't really have that much slack I can give him on that. But again, his Tachi was so fast that Endo could have just not have known what to do in the moment. Like it could have
possible.
It's cause, like, I mean, he was moving backwards and leaning, but that could have just been like sort of a hit and shift Tachi.
Yeah.
But I mean, then when he got hit, he sort of was staggered back a little bit, and Endo, I'm like, finger wag. But again, Hoshoryu, it's like he's the leader of the Thieves Guild. Like, you're not gonna pick his pocket.
Exactly.
And what probably one of my favorite parts is when he fought against Tobizaru. Tobizaru tries to Henka, gets punished severely. You look over to Tobizaru and he's grinning to himself. He's like, "Oh, I didn't get away with it." Then you go to Hoshoryu. He has the exact same grin on his face. He's just like, "Oh, he tried it."
This is like the fun part of sumo, where you get to see the interpersonal stuff after the fact.
It just seeing them like both have like they're not looking at each other. They're smiling to themselves.
They're having an internal thing
going
going
just
on.
Like, "Oh, I see what happened there. Oh, I just cherished that little interaction." And so on paper, Hoshoryu 10-5. The double digits means this could be the start of an Ozeki run. We're going to be saying that like a half dozen times, which is very fun.
Yes.
So with a 10-5 and with what I'll say is some on and off sumo, but I will say 90% on, that he still has a little bit of work to do, and it's going to be July before he can get anything done because he was 8-7 in January.
Yep. But at least he put up his double digits.
But he got
finally.
the double digit. He's re-racked, and so it feels like he's getting the jitters out. He is planting feet in Sekiwake, and he wants to go higher.
He's doing a lot of the scowl lately.
Yes.
Even when he wins, he's scowling at you.
Well, if he gets fired up on a match,
he's like
yeah. It feels like there's almost like there's excess aggression that he is just like, "Oh, I got to put it back in."
So speaking of which, let's talk about what happened with Takayasu today, because this is my favorite. This is such a great thing to talk about what's great about Hoshoryu. So as much as I love Hoshoryu's aggression and fire and passion, I love when people put him in his place too. So here he is posturing at the Shikiri-sen with Takayasu, refusing to put his hands down, trying to force Takayasu to put his hands down first, and Takayasu just threw him like a rag doll.
Oh, what a throw.
It was so funny. And you know Hoshoryu was mad.
Super mad. And Takayasu was going to have none of it.
It's like, you respect the former Ozeki, okay?
Yeah. When he lost to Kiribayama, it took him a solid few seconds to get up, and you can tell he was like, "I want that again. I want to go again." He wanted, like, if this was like a training match, he would have stood up. He would have stood up and be like, "No, we're not ending on that." But he had to bow and leave because it wasn't a trading match. So
I'm pretty sure some things got broke in the dressing room after that match.
Love seeing that kind of fired up in the ring.
Well, that's the beautiful rivalry too.
Yes.
Let's not forget the fact that Kiribayama and Hoshoryu are the next great rivalry in sumo.
It's building. Came
up together. We're in the same clubs. They so they've known each other a very, very long time. They're both from Mongolia. They are fighting for position right now. Like, everything about it, this is the purest great rivalry that hopefully we're still talking about 10 years from now.
It's building towards something beautiful. And so Hoshoryu, like, again, a pleasure to watch. And on top of that, we get the Ozeki run. We get this great sumo technique, and we get, can you imagine how steamed he's going to be if Kiribayama gets Ozeki first?
Oh,
the
anger just makes
me... You can boil an egg on his forehead. He'll be so mad.
Well, and it will be even funnier is if Terunofuji does come back and he's at good shape and just throwing him around. It's like, oh, you thought you were a tough guy. Well, guess what? The king's back.
There's so much to look forward to in May, and like we're still enjoying March.
Exactly. So Hoshoryu never changed.
Hoshoryu, beautiful, beautiful time. And... we're already talking about him. Now we're going to formally translate into our Yusho winnow, Kiribayama, 12-3, gets it done in the playoff. The man with the plan, the man who's just got you figured out, has all the techniques, and honestly, the fight against Daieisho showed everything. So belt technician beats almost everybody on the belt except for Kotonowaka, and that's an interesting little side rivalry going on. Mm-hmm. He has a different game plan against Daieisho than he does against someone else. Against Hoshoryu, for instance. The two of them went after the belt, and then he just outmaneuvered. But against Daieisho, he's like, I'm going to fight you different. And Kiribayama has that. He has the thrusts. He has the counters. It's fun watching him fight Takakeisho. He didn't get around to it, unfortunately, this tournament. But he tries different stuff on Takakeisho, too. He's got that expert tactician mind. And now he is our front-runner for Ozeki.
Which everybody is really pumped about, because not only do we need an Ozeki, but we've been eyeing Kiribayama, Wakatakage, Hoshoryu, and Kiribayama was kind of third man.
He was third man because he was slowly building it up. And like
he's taking his time.
He's taking his time. We're mentioning, like, here are these people that are sparking up, but he's building. And I think we were talking this before. It's like, right now he's 8-7, 8-7, 9-6, 9-6, and then we were like, soon it'll be 10-5, soon it'll be 11-4. We felt like it was coming, and now he just got it together faster than we expected. And
today, I mean, he really showed it. To come from behind, win in the final match, and to win in the playoff like that, it shows that it wasn't just some fluky thing, though he did have some small advantages given to him. But we always talk about, like, the razor's thin edge in sumo. If X didn't happen, maybe Y wouldn't happen. But he proved himself 100%. It was a wonderful thing that the matchup just happened to work out, that he hadn't fought Daieisho yet. To actually have the two guys who are fighting it out.
Fight on the
last day and then do the playoff. Like, you couldn't have written it any better. And he owned it. And I want to say that this is my interpretation. Everybody has a different interpretation of what happened. But when Daieisho blasted him on the Tachi-ai, it looked like it was all Daieisho. I really think Kiribayama allowed it to happen because he never went for the belt once.
No.
I watched it over and over and over again. He never even tried. I think it was always his intention to let Daieisho blast him, and he was going to endure it. And then at the very end, he was going to deflect and knock him out, because that's how Daieisho loses when Daieisho loses.
That's the game plan. Kiribayama knew that he could, like, maybe he can get the belt, but if Daieisho hits him too hard, then he's knocked out. But if he focuses on defense, on absorbing the impact, going to the ring edge, and knocking him out, and it's very telling that he beat him that way 2 times.
Right, and the second time he, varied it a little bit. That's partially because Daieisho was way too far forward. Mm-hmm. He was, like, practically falling over. But he kind of went for he kind of grabbed the arm this time, versus the first time he waited to the absolute last second to push that arm and then step to the side. So, I think he couldn't have done this tournament any better.
It was clean, it was good, and he got it good. And the good news for the Ozeki run is he got the Yusho win out of the way.
Yep.
All he needs in May is another 11-12 wins. I think he's
fully capable of it too.
Yeah. And I think even if he's I think double digits is the bare minimum, but I think even on a 10-5, if it looks really good, and
he beats the right people,
he's in.
Yeah, he didn't look like he was hurt in any way. So, I mean, injuries is always what throws this whole thing up in the air. He looked like he was in good shape at the end. Though I have to say, I ran out of time to actually watch the trophy ceremony and stuff and the interview. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of mood he was in, because I saw him cry immediately when they announced that he had won. And I'm like, I want to see his personality now.
There's the Sumo Primetime, shout out to Sumo Primetime, had a little clip of his interview. And I was going to go probably watch the replay of the live to see if they have enough time at the end of it for the interview. And he's I think one of the first things he said is just like, oh man, I'm real nervous. So he had the honesty play. It wasn't the brand of sumo play.
Of course I did it because I'm awesome.
Yeah, well, definitely not that either. Or not the I fought my best for 15 days. I gave him my brand of sumo. There was jitters. He definitely, it was fun.
How happy do you think Kakiryu is right now?
Beaming.
I pictured that, like when he was walking off. I pictured Kakuryu was in the back somewhere, and they were just gonna like hug and be like, "You did it!" And somewhere else, Hakuho was like, "It's my turn.
Well,
my guys are coming up now."
His guys are coming up. We'll get to those in a bit too.
Yep.
Yeah. Well done, Kiribayama. Congratulations.
Rooting for you for Ozeki.
May is going to be fun for that alone. And then we got all this other stuff we're going to talk about. Like Wakamotoharu. Kamasubi 1 East. 11-4.
He came out of nowhere, but in a way, like, he has a very similar trajectory as Kiribayama. He's been doing it slow. He's been steady and slow.
Yeah. He is like the pinnacle of good on offense, good on defense, and you don't know what he's going to do on any given day. His absorbing and pivot reversals are like his bread and butter right now. Everybody just crashes into him. He takes the punishment, I don't know how, and he just flips the guy. And there's the aggression. There's a really good belt work. He outbelts people who are really good at the belt. Midorifuji, Endo. Great fight versus Hoshoryu. Technically wins against Kotonowaka. So like here he's collecting all of these really good hits. He's also, what is good to see is like there is that aura. We always talk about the aura.
Yes.
The way he walks around, the way he handles himself, the crispness of the sumo. It's like he fights like somebody who's been here for 2 years.
And he always has. Like, even in his debut tournament, it seemed like he had been there forever. And he's got the classic, it's like a classic sumo fighter look and feel and stagger and all that.
It's that calmness. And there are some people down on the bottom of the Banzuke who, like, the nerves define how they're fighting, it's the struggle. For some of them, it's as good as it is bad. It's interesting. It's a very human story. But for him, unflappable. Mm-hmm. He just walks up on a dohyo just like, I'm gonna win today.
And if he beats Hoshoryu, he's in this whole playoff.
He's in the three-way playoff.
He just barely missed
out, and that just goes to show you how much Hoshoryu. And this is where this is really fun. They're all playing off against each other, and so. He had a 9-6 in January, and he has an 11-4 here. He needs a 13-2 with the Yusho, but there is a reality in May where we get 2 Ozekis at once.
Interesting.
With the what I'll call very dominant sumo here. The 9-6 is again the 9-6. That's what you have to overcome.
Yeah.
And nothing short of a 13-2 Yusho is going to get into him in May. But if it's him and Kiribayama, day 15, all the marbles, they're both Ozeki.
Interesting.
So,
I know people would be cheering in the streets if that happened.
Blind optimism.
Completely blind.
Complete fanboying right here.
Well, why not? We've had so much like bad stuff at the top. Like, let's really go at it with the good stuff.
So... something to keep in mind, and hopes for the Waka brothers that he can at least hold the line until Wakatakage.
I mean, they did a nice little double team there at the end, where Wakatakage was knocking out some of his competition.
There is that's another factor on it. It's
but now he's gonna leapfrog his brother.
Yeah,
they're gonna basically switch places, I think.
And with an 11-4, you've got to make a Sekiwaki slot for him, and he's
leaving it.
He's leaving it. So yeah, I see Sekiwaki 2, and then Wakatakage comes down. There's going to be some. How do you handle this? I do not know how. I
don't know.
I don't know this. Like you're looking at the Daieisho's 12-3, Yusho equivalent. Maybe he's Sekiwaki.
Oh, that's a good point.
So then you have Daieisho and Wakamotoharu both at Sekiwake, and then you look at Kotonowaka and you're like, you did pretty well for yourself.
He was also like right there.
Oh, this is it's been so long since we had such a top heavy, beautiful.
Well, it's everybody like pushing on the floor, like, bring me up to Ozeki. I've been down here too long.
So Wakamotoharu is gonna make some waves. Very fun, very exciting.
But let's just say, this was almost not to be.
Yes.
That Kotonowaka match, I couldn't believe that he got up after the way he fell. Yeah. I did not realize he hit his back first. I thought he fell directly on his neck. And, I mean, I screamed. I thought he was not going to get up, and then he just bounces up.
Bounces back up. Yeah. When he dragged Kotonowaka back with him, they both of them fell down. It looked like on the replay, and sort of supported by the fact that he didn't break his neck, thank God, that as he fell back, his back hit the corner of the dohyo first, and then he rolled from there. So the force of the impact was on the back.
Okay.
And then as he rolled, now he does then have all of his body weight leaning on his head. So probably wasn't comfortable. But if that was a 10-foot drop, yeah, so thank God that was a near miss, which is, again, maybe that's us getting one back from Wakatakage and everybody else who's injured. So
exactly.
Nice to dodge a bullet every once in a while.
We need to.
Yeah. So, well, talking about him, Kotonowaka. So what's nice, we'll get to the first stuff. So 9 and 6, Kamasubi 1 West, back-to-back Kachikoshi and Sanyaku. So last time he broke the curse, and now he's doing a little better than breaking the curse. Very good to see. I feel like there's no malice in it. Not that there was malice for Tamawashi, but comparing the two, like Tamawashi is just like, I'm gonna break your elbow open, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like he's sort of just like, I'm fighting this to the end.
Yeah,
so it's a drive rather than I'm just gonna break you.
I sort of have a theory on this, and there's no way I'll ever know the truth, but I had to really think about why is it that people keep getting hurt against Kotonowaka. I think this is where you're going to see, I talked about this a lot on the live stream. In some of these matches, you can see why they do some of the training they do so that when you fall, you don't get hurt. One of the matches, I think it was against Tobizaru maybe. It was a beautiful throw, but he had to tuck his head because if he didn't, he would have hit his neck. So I think with Kotonowaka, he's a big guy with a lot of body to use, going up against a lot of smaller guys. And I don't know if Kotonowaka knows how to use all of his strength yet. It's part of the reason why he hasn't ascended. So if you go in against this guy who is really, really strong and you do reckless abandon, he's not going to be able to help you out because he hasn't figured out how to move in such ways where he could dominate you on the throw, or he could blast you out so hard you never have a chance to fall out at the edge. I think that's the problem we're having is because of the lack of training and experience, guys are getting hurt more because they're actually not getting dominated by the other guy. If you do like a half-hearted throw or you don't do the throw right, you're more likely to hurt a guy. If you are having all these fights on the edge all the time, you're more likely that a guy's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I think guys need to like really, really think about their future and when they're engaging, how not to get hurt. Yeah. That needs to be in their mind. I know that's tough because in sumo, all you're thinking about is winning, but you're not going to win if you get hurt.
That does play into his style as well. He rarely will slap someone down in the middle of the ring.
No.
He's always driving them out. He's always throwing them out. It's always a ring end stuff. So yeah, he does court those. It's also when he was on his rise, he would get a lot of mono-ease because a lot of this stuff was him and them going out at the same time.
Yep.
And so there is the raw power plus this ring stuff. And then you compare it to somebody like Kiribayama or Hoshoryu, they'll just dump you in the middle of the clay.
Exactly. They'll just like throw you very beautifully. You'll roll your head and you'll be flat in the middle of the ring. Kotonowaka doesn't do that stuff. Like even with Ichinojo could kill a couple guys, but he doesn't want to be at the edge. No. He wants to take you out in the middle somewhere. So a lot of it is this edge fighting. And that's, like you just said, the Kotonowaka style, even though he's a big guy. Like, if you have Tobizaru and Hoshoryu on the edge, the chances of one of them getting really, really hurt is not as high as if Kotonowaka and a small guy are fighting. Because he will crush you. So, it's a precarious situation. And like you said, it's not necessarily malicious on his part.
It's just his brand of sumo.
Right. So, you have to come in with a plan not to get hurt. It's like when Takakeisho fights Ichinojo. He knows he's going to bust his neck if he engages him the way he engages everyone else.
Head on.
You've got to engage with Kotonowaka differently. Or, I mean, he's hurt 2 guys and almost the 3rd guy. No, they're 2. It's not him just hurting them.
Yeah. In terms of the sumo, though, again, looking pretty good. With the 9 and 6, he's not quite on the track for Ozeki like the others, but we have the back-to-back Kachikoshi at Sanyaku. We have him being one of the people who beats Kiribayama, which is very important.
Right. You might be looking back at this tournament 2 tournaments from now and saying, well, maybe that 9-6 isn't a problem because he just dominated May and July.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we could be having a different conversation 2 tournaments down the line for him.
Potentially. So it could be the start of something more accurately. It's the start of him being a mainstay in Sanyaku, which is what he needs to do. You got to plant the feet and then you can climb. Especially
if Wakatakage is out for any length of time, he jumps into the 3.
Jumps right in. Then he's in the hopper. But well done, Kotonowaka. Reckless or no, dangerous or no, he gets it done.
He's doing his thing. Almost was in the final.
Almost. Yeah, he lost 4 of his last 5, and that was...
Well, I think it all started, though, with when he lost against Wakatakage, it just drained him for the last...
It drained him a little bit, yeah, because then he was... Yeah, at that point, then he was...
that was when it was over.
9-4. He was out of the Yusho race, and that probably took a little bit of wind out of his sails.
Yeah.
So, but he's also super young. Like him, like Hoshoryu, we have years ahead on them.
Right. There's... The experience will take that away.
Yeah. Yeah, time will fix this.
Yes.
So it's very optimistic. Speaking of it, optimistic, again, this Sanyaku list is just pleasure.
You almost picked him to win it all, too. You're close to at least being runner-up.
Nearly. Daieisho 12-3. Yusho equivalent loses in the playoff. So I had always mentioned that the Yusho Daieisho level of power, based on January of last year, is when he just has that consistent way of smashing people. And it came back.
Yeah.
And what's really nice about it this time is that this is like a back-to-back. Typically, like it sort of ebbs and flows. But this is him not just having the power for 12 wins, but that's after having a January, which is also pretty good. A January that got him in the door to Kamasubi to begin with.
What was his January record? Do you know?
Let me go get it. 10-5.
Okay, so
so this 10-5 at Megashira 1.
Oh, that's right.
They don't count. Unless
they won't count
unless it's Sanyaku.
Yep.
But,
a shame.
Unfortunate, but again, like a double-digit, what I'll call Yusho Daieisho level performance in January, which then usually comes with like a fade. Usually comes with a drawback on the next tournament. He does better, so it's very good. This is a late, I'll say a late resurgence for Daieisho, who's not quite on the veteran pile, but like we felt like he had hit his ceiling. He's now broken the ceiling. And on top of that, he's doing Plan B stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably fighting Kotonowaka. He does a reversal slapdown, which I had not seen out of him. So, he deals with Kotonowaka not blasting forward, which goes into Kotonowaka's court of being on the edge and then getting reversed and thrown down, which is what always happens to him and happened twice on Sunday. But regardless, sees that he can go backwards and do a sort of a pivot slapdown while reversing. That's a good sign. Also has stronger defenses. Typically, if he gets out thrusted, like against Takakeisho, he just dies on the hill and just keeps thrusting. With Abi, what we call it the Abi A, that he's just going E-Honda slapping you in the face. He weathers that storm and then finds his moment to go inside, which...
It shows kind of the strategy.
There is a little bit of the strategy, a little bit of the... Now, we love the foot on the gas Daieisho. Again, the Yusho Daieisho. Just destroying people. And so the fact that he's formulating the backup plan, that he's working on the alternate means, that's the trick.
That's always been the trick for him.
Always been the trick. That's the thing he needs to figure out. Now, that being said, he did do the lost twice on the last day thing.
To, the type of way that he always loses.
Yes.
Like, it's sort of, it's like the biggest letdown ever that he does so well the whole tournament, and then when it really matters, he loses the way he's been losing. And he had 2 shots at it. So the second time around, he could have tried something different. I sort of get it, though. I mean, your thought process is, this is my brand of sumo.
Stick with what you're strong at. Don't try some weird thing and then
regret it.
Everything.
But the problem is, in an endurance match, I think Kiribayama is always going to take it. Daieisho had half the power in the playoff match that he had in the first match. So, like, of course he wasn't going to win on that alone. He needs to pick up, and you said he was starting to develop
It's the groundwork.
He's got to do I don't want to say he has to do what Takakeisho does, but something in the vein of learning to deflect. So like goad somebody into a slapping battle, and then when they think you're going to keep going forward, you push them off and throw their balance completely off. That's Takakeisho's thing. Daieisho could add some throws. He doesn't have this. I'm not saying he should do them, but his plan B could have a throw that someone doesn't see coming. Like, could you imagine if he's going after Kiribayama and Kiri's ready to go off to the side and Daieisho grabs a belt and one arms him out the ring?
That would be wild. I would love that.
Yeah, so Daieisho is going to go home tonight and be very sad, but have a lot to think about for next tournament.
Yeah. So the last thing is also focus. He beats Midorifuji. Midorifuji
running all over the place.
Running all over the place. Slippery. And Daieisho sticks to him like glue. And that, again, the being able to move back and do something and the ability to keep focused forward are the two, like, those were his Achilles heels forever. And so now we have two people who take advantage of that we're not able to. And again, that's a 10-5.
Yeah.
This is the improvement. He's not there yet, but we didn't think we would see this, and we're seeing this, and it's very fun.
Interesting, though, that the only three people he lost to were Wakamotoharu, Hoshoryu, and Kiribayama.
The Sekiwake.
Yeah. That just tells you something else, too, that he's better than the rest.
Uh-huh.
But he isn't quite there yet when it comes to being in the 3.
The 3, which will be that'll be the big thing in May. Can he get those wins?
Right. Can he put himself in an Ozeki conversation? Not quite yet, but can he build from this? It out?
Yes. And can he beat his drinking buddy?
Yeah.
Who Takakeisho always has his number.
I know. He does. And he does need to overcome Takakeisho in order to...
And Terunofuji. So it's going to be a steeper call for him
in
May than it was here.
I mean, because... like we were discussing before, Daieisho was so powerful this tournament. I would have loved to have seen him fight Takakeisho, actually, to see what level of power he had in comparison. Because that's another thing. If Daieisho has found a way to step up his power, we talked about in the preview, there's another thing in his favor. But there was no one to compare it to. All those guys I just talked about are the small guys. So
it's fun. It's fun. Exciting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would always, whenever something like this would happen for Daieisho, part of me is just like, hold on, can't get too optimistic.
Don't jump all in yet.
So, but now I'm like, maybe it's not the dark horse anymore. Maybe we've got to push this. So, very excited for the May Daieisho.
Yes.
So, the rank doesn't look good, but the fun is still there. for Kamasubi 2 West, Tobizaru 6 and 9. This is sort of where we're saying you can't have all these people up top with all these good, powerful records without somebody paying the price.
Yep.
Tobizaru is the person who unfortunately had to pay the price.
He's the scapegoat.
So the fun chaos that he's known for was all over the place. His problem here is that everybody else just was not going to let him do it.
There's only a certain type of wrestler who's going to freak out with the chaos. And there's a lot of guys in here who either cause their own kinds of chaos or they're just undeterred by it.
So the most fun matches for him this tournament were ones that he lost. When he fought Kotonowaka, the two of them went back and forth. It was like reverse parries into reverse parries. We were both staggered. Like each of them exhausted. Each of them one time they knocked the other one off out of alignment, but that also knocked them out of alignment. So they had to re-engage and go at it. Tobizaru loses that one. Kotonowaka just has the slighter edge, and as you were mentioning before, he's bigger. So Tobizaru had a little more work to do, and that was just a little bit too much. Against Hoshoryu, we'd mentioned that. He fought Kiribayama, also a crazy back and forth affair, but Kiribayama just too much holding it together.
Yeah, he's so stable this time around.
Stable.
That he's just not going to fall for those antics.
Yeah. And fights against Midorifuji, but he was fighting against Midorifuji in his 10-0 run.
Was that the 10th one?
It's right here. It was number 10. This was another crazy. The two of them went wild, but Midorifuji he was in the zone. So Tobi's, again, 4 great matches, 4 lots of fun. He loses all 4, and that's sort of what happens to him. Worth noting, though, his first 2 matches upsets Takakeisho. This is Takakeisho before the knee injury, so he beat him dead to rights clean.
Yep.
Well
and messed
done.
up his whole tournament.
Messed up the whole tournament for him. So Tobizaru, like, he could have been 1-14, and this one win right there, that was fine.
Exactly.
Also, outbelts Mitakeumi. Now, we'll talk about Mitakeumi, but that is still a lot of guy who doesn't want to move.
And, former Ozeki, there's something to that.
Yeah. So, these two, when it comes for wins for Tobizaru, these are some really strong candidates.
It was a great way to start his tournament.
Again, for quality of matches, he had a lot of fun in here.
Yeah.
For performance, sorry, buddy.
What can you do for somebody whose name is the Flying Monkey?
Can't help you out. But again, it's one of these, he's got a 6-9, but there was so much good there.
Yeah, one of those times where we say the record doesn't quite reflect.
It doesn't quite reflect. Now, well, the record does reflect because he did a lot of...
Yes.
But
it doesn't necessarily show that, he was dogging it. Yeah. Some 6-9ers are guys
a
who...
Tobizaru 6-9 was world different than a Sadonoumi 6-9. Exactly. I don't want to pick on Sadonoumi. That's a whole different type of 6-9. But this is the 6-9 of the who cares?
We at least had fun.
We had fun. We went out there and did it. I was just like, the record almost doesn't matter. I mean it does when he falls out of
us.
Yeah. He's going to fall out of Sanyaku. He has to get back in there again. And in the larger sense, also, this is Tobizaru sort of jockeying with the Sanyaku line. And then sort of in the big picture, this is always the case, where people who are trying to break that ceiling doesn't always stick the first time. Well,
it may take a while.
Two other very notable exceptions notwithstanding. But again, these are the people who are the exceptions. Tobizaru is the rule.
Right. And we had talked for a while about, was Tobizaru a false, was he a Juryo guy who's doing a great... I mean, he's far exceeded the expectations. I never thought he would get this high and actually be competitive. So for that, in and of itself, Tobizaru is doing as good as Tobizaru can. Yes.
The fact that he has evolved the conversation alone just tells you how far he's come. Mm-hmm. So, well done, Tobizaru. Sorry for the inevitable bump. But again, he has that in with the Banzige.
That's true. So, they might be like, okay, you're only Myogiryu 3.
Yeah, I'm not even that. Myogiryu 2. We'll see.
Yeah, well, he could be. Yeah,
this is gonna be a little bit of a wild time at the top. But anyway, well done, Tobizaru. I had a lot of fun watching.
Oh, we're not there yet, but I'm taking a look at Shodai, and I'm looking at the record and looking at the Sanyaku, and I'm like, how's that gonna work?
Oh boy.
I know we're not there yet, but
it'll be wild. So. This is, I don't know how to feel about this one. I'll say I'm not worried about Tamawashi making sure one East 3-12. Oof. So, as it comes down to for a lot of these pushers and thrusters, if your power's not there, you're not going to have a good time. And Tamawashi was not bending people into the backwards letter C like he normally was. Yeah. It was a bizarre backwards world, this tournament, because it was Tamawashi who was getting blasted into the stands and run out.
Yeah.
Like he was, a drunk who didn't pay his tab. So there was something going on that he wasn't able to get 100% of his power. Now, whether this is for somebody like Tamawashi, for any of the veterans, as soon as they have something like this, you're like, age finally catch up. Is this it? And this could be. Yeah. Maybe he just finally hit his ceiling. Maybe he was spending more time with his compatriot in Juryo and not working on his own thing. What I will say for the silver lining are his wins were all aggression. Wakatakage smothers him out. Wakatakage's issues be damned. He's still Sanyaku.
Right.
So he beats the Sanyaku on day one, fighting Ryuden and Mitakeumi, 2 other slumpers. It was his aggression. It was his going forward that got him the win. If he was sitting on it, then Ryuden would have done something about it.
Right. It was almost like whatever was going on, at least he was gonna beat the people who he definitely could beat.
Yes. So the optimism is he's gonna dump down pretty far, but then he will get a rebound from him when he regroups, and that we just had a bad time of it this time around.
It was weird, though, because even right before the tournament, we were talking about how nothing could slow him down.
Nothing could slow him down.
I was shocked that
he fell
this way.
Yeah, let's pull him up. because the way his momentum was going did seem pretty unbeatable. So 9-6. I mean, this was him in Sanyaku. Remember, he bumped back up.
Right.
13-2 with the U show in September.
Right.
Looking pretty good. God, this is
injury or something. Oh, that was COVID.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, that was so long ago. Yeah. So this is a complete reversal of momentum on this.
It's because he did that Sumo Primetime interview.
The curse.
It's the curse.
Unfortunate. But hoping that he's just going to take a tumble and that we can put this all behind us. But May will be the deciding factor. If he has another
one of these, then we got to put him on the watch list.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, maybe it's something else.
He is the oldest man in sumo,
he is
so
still, yeah. He doesn't fight his age, but sometimes, we're going to be talking about this later, sometimes age doesn't care.
Yeah.
So, back to me being super happy.
Uh-huh.
So, Shodai, I'm dying this hill that this was a good pick for the Ryusho for me.
I still think it was a good pick.
It was a good pick. 10-5. No pressure, no problem. It flipped the switch. He was fighting. It's like the Shodai from 4 years ago, came out of a time capsule. And he's just like, oh, wow. Everything looks weird and different. What happened over the last...
He did an interview with somebody. It might have been Sumo Primetime, where he came right out and said, yeah, I'm glad I'm not Ozeki anymore. Uh-huh. Just like you said.
Yeah. So, fighting that, it's that like smothering pressure, the anti-physics engine working as well as it does, that he does that slamming upwards angle off the Tachi-ai that it'll just eat everybody's momentum. Half of these wins... Hoshoryu, Kiribayama, Wakatakage, Wakamotoharu, Midorifuji. He's not just beaten random people. Half of his wins are against the people all the way at the top, or higher than him, as the case is. So this 10-5 isn't just a I'm back, baby. It's a you better watch out.
I can beat any of you.
So this is very, very optimistic. And then, so now what I'm afraid of for Shodai isn't that he's not doing well anymore, that I don't want him to do too well.
Because then he might be back in Ozeki.
Don't do it, Shodai.
Yeah, just go for the U shows. Don't try this Ozeki thing.
I'm reminded of the very end of the Incredibles movie where the kid who's like, he's superpowers running. And so, look, the whole premise in the beginning of the movie is that you can't do track and field because then you're just going to beat everybody and everybody's going to be like, you have superpowers. So at the very, very end, he's doing the run, but like clearly hamming it in. And then his parents are like yelling at him, too fast, too slow, no, third place. I get that feeling for Shodai. So Shodai, just throw a few matches in there so you could keep the comfort zone.
Take a day off against, some people.
Try some wild throws someday.
Well, it's interesting because he's 10-5 at Maegashira 1.
Yeah, so when it comes to this, so these two people are going up. These two people are going up. So we're gonna have four Sekiwake. Wakatakage is gonna just get smushed out to Kamasubi, probably one west. Kotonowaka is moving over, and then Shodai's back in Sanyaku, and Abi's back in Sanyaku, and we're gonna be back to 8.
We're back to our 8.
We're just too good up here.
Right, there's nothing else they can do.
I will say this tournament that some of the Sanyaku fights, like the Hoshoryu Kiribayama fight, I was going through the replay in my head, like I closed my eyes and I just imagined both of them with the Yokozuna belt. It felt natural. The quality of sumo, the intensity of the rivalries, the level of technique on display. Like I feel like we're just seeing it. Like it's there now. That just the rank hasn't caught up yet.
Right. So they have to keep creating all these extra spots until these guys can finally clear the hurdle.
Yeah. So like it's just we're in this queue right now. So we're gonna have 8 people back in Sanyaku. Shodai's gonna be back in there. He's just gonna be doing his own jolly thing, and.
He's got the ability to fight Kotonowaka because he plays the same game as Kotonowaka and he's just as big.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't work out for him this time.
He didn't win, but he didn't get hurt.
He didn't get hurt, no. It crashed out. Well done, Shodai. Good to see you back. So glad that you are breaking the Mitakeumi convention.
Yes.
We'll talk about Mitakeumi in a little bit, but yeah, all happy for Shodai. And now we're going to go to Abi. 9 and 6, Megashira, 2 East. So this is Abi B with a 9 and 6. And I have all sorts of conflicted feelings about that.
Me too.
Because on one hand, we want Abi A. Abi A is the guy who is smashing you, always moving forward, has the game plan, he has the brain and he has the brawn, and he's getting it all done. Abi's 9 and 6. He's doing Plan B against Tobizaru, against Hoshoryu, against Takakeisho. So okay,
yeah.
If your Plan B is better than your Plan A,
then maybe you should use it.
So then I'm going back in my mind. I was like, is he just going to become a backpedaler and win his way that way? And now I'm all confused.
You know what's interesting about it is Abi's got what I would call a little bit of Chiyoshoma in him, where he's got a trickiness. There's a little bit of a foxiness.
A little bit.
Even the way he won his Yusho, doing that Hanka at the end. And
so
he's not somebody who just wants to, he's not a Daieisho pusher thruster.
I feel like there's sort of this slow evolution. And so now we blunk. And because I personally was very focused on he comes back from the COVID wrist slap. And now he's just like, I'm better. He did his big rise, all the power, the technique, everybody's there. He's like, he's back to where he was. And then then the mental struggle started happening again. And so if that's all still true, then the fact that he got a 9 and 6 at this level has to help the mental game, has to help the confidence.
Yes.
But what if, as you said, he's becoming this Chiyoshoma character? What if he's becoming a trickster and we're just nobody paid attention?
Yeah, I mean, think about his personality. Think about one of the reasons he even got in trouble for COVID. Prior to COVID, he was getting in trouble being online, doing crazy stuff. He was blowing his responsibilities off. He would make inappropriate jokes and, to make everybody blush because you're supposed to be a professional sumo wrestler. You can't take that out of him. Even if he's learned stuff, even if he's a professional, even if he's a serious dad now, you can't take that out of him, and that's going to be reflected in the sumo. I think we're always going to have Abi tricks, and that's of that Abi B that you're talking about.
Yeah, the Abi B will always be there. I feel like you can't get that out of the system. But
I think it comes out every time Abi A isn't feeling so good.
Well, now it's just now I'm wondering, it's just what use is Abi A? And then I'm all conflicted.
Yeah.
You know what? It's you don't want it. On one hand, it's you don't want to be you want Abi A, you want to go forward. You want the north south sumo. You want the spirit of fighting. And then the other hand, you're like, winning's nice.
I think I think Abi B has risk factors in it. If you rely on that too much, you could end up getting hurt.
Yeah, but
or you can end up out of rhythm so much that you have a really bad tournament. Maybe the combo of the two is a good thing?
A little bit, but then what if he just starts having a few drinks with Tobizaru? So, what if he learns to thrive in that? What if he hangs out with Shodai and learns how the ring edge chaos really works?
Right, there has to be some secret club for guys who
I don't even know what to think anymore after this.
I know, right?
Just because he did so well on the back foot against people you shouldn't think would lose to it.
Right, and that's like I said, that's always been in there. That was definitely there in Abi before the COVID smackdown.
Yeah, maybe Trickster Abi has just finally had his time to shine.
It's like the nine-tailed fox or something.
Maybe that's his new. Maybe he's not E Honda anymore. Maybe he's the nine-tailed fox.
That's what I'm starting to think.
Oh man! So now I want to see what he does in.
Right. I mean, Abi's always around. Don't forget about Abi.
Yeah. Yeah, this is also something that was really interesting is that he did get drowned out by all
this
noise.
Everyone forgot about him.
And he did pretty well for himself when everybody wasn't looking at him. I want to see May. I'm going through this whole list. I'm just I want to see what he does in May. I want to see what he does in May. Now, he's on that list.
He's on that
list. He's a sleeper. And he's probably back in Sanyaku.
Right, and if nobody's looking at him, then maybe he wins another Yusho.
Oh my god. Can you imagine him just backpedal throwing Terunofuji down? Getting the cup.
I could see it happening.
Terunofuji, face full of dirt, just rage in his eyes.
I could see him taking out Hoshoryu before you know it, and Hoshoryu just be like, "Oh, I hate you."
He did that.
Yeah.
He can keep doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, Abi.
Abi's a hard one for Hoshoryu to fight.
Abi's turning into a beautiful little puzzle for us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you got to do when you have the awkward body dimensions like this.
Yeah.
Don't be Ichiyamamoto, his generic version.
Funny we should say that. Put a pin in that.
Okay.
Put a pin in that thought.
All right.
And we'll come back to it. So, Ryuden, Megashira to us. So we had mentioned this before. When you have a Sanyaku that's this good and this hungry, someone's got to pay that bill. Unfortunately for Ryuden, it was his number. So we had mentioned this with him and Nishikigi, who both have a similar answer, but to less severity, which is they're two veterans, second wind on the rise. They had the momentum going, and we're like, where's their ceiling? We're not sure. I was optimistic that Ryuden can keep it going. No. No, sorry past me. I'm going to have to give you this bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So there's two big things. First off, he had nerves. You could tell. He was there was an unsurety. There was a cautiousness. Maybe there's some injury. Maybe there's something else going on. But ultimately, he was not able to get into his favorite stance. He wasn't able to get the grips on. Now, I'll give credit to his quality of opposition.
I was going to say, look at who he faced in the first
Wakamotoharu,
3 days.
Kotonowaka, Daieisho, Takakeisho, Hoshoryu,
Wakatakage,
Kiribayama, Shodai.
He faced everybody.
So he kind of got murderous row thrown at him, and so he could have had a good time. Everything could have been right, but
he's just not that good.
I'm sorry that's your ceiling. What was a little concerning, and where I'm a little about it, so him and Kotoshoho get into a belt fight. This is a Kotoshoho, by the way, who is 1-8, 2-8.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear Ryuden gets the belt on a Kotoshoho who's not having a good time, you're like, you're dead. I'm pretty sure as soon as I saw the belt grip from Ryuden on Kotoshoho, I'm just like, well, that's it. Now you just got to wait for the throw. Kotoshoho turns it around. So Ryuden had what he needed to win. He still couldn't win against somebody he could have beaten.
Yeah.
That's the concern. That's something else going on.
Right. You have to wonder if it's injuries or if, like you said, the nerves. Couldn't get a good rhythm.
The hope is he was just a step behind everybody else, couldn't get the rhythm going, and then by the time he had what he needed, it was just all gone.
Right. And you're going to get fatigued fighting all these top guys.
Yeah. So I will say that even though barely had a chance, him versus Kiribayama, one of the best iron matches of the tournament. And Kiribayama had to put him through the paces. So Ryuden, that's another one. You're just like, what if Ryuden just dug deep that one match, and that's the third loss for Kiribayama and that Iron Man.
Right, and it changes the whole thing. It's not even in the conversation at the end.
Like Ryuden just pulls that out, but unfortunately for Ryuden, he's gonna have a tumble back down. But then what's good news for Ryuden is that he's gonna be making sure 8.
Well, good thing he was Megashira too when he decided to do this.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is just him being escorted out of the VIP club, but he we'll see what he does in May. Check that one up, because if he rebounds, like him and Tamawashi have a very similar story, which is they're sort of been too good for too long to really write this out, and we got to see them again.
Yeah.
Got to see them again.
Unless it's 2 tournaments in a row, it's not a problem.
Yep. So sorry, Ryuden. Look, somebody has to lose. Mm-hmm. Okay, we all drew lots. You weren't invited to this, but we all drew lots, and we decided you had the short straw. Somebody
had to be fed to that hungry group up top that's trying to move on.
The hungry machine just has to go, and that was Ryuden in this tournament. So sorry, buddy. Somebody. Sorry.
Hit the weights.
Yeah, get back to it. Hope you had good sun and food in Osaka to at least make the trip worth your time.
Exactly.
All right. So, Megashira 3 East, Mitakeumi, 4-11. Has anybody seen Mitakeumi? I feel like he's gone. I've not. I need a missing persons. We need to put Mitakeumi on a milk carton.
I agree.
Like in the old days. He is missing. And now we have this, what I call the Megashira Mitakeumi, which is now...
we haven't seen in, what?
A long
6
long
years?
Time. This predates Sanyaku.
Mm-hmm.
It's this weird beast. It's the passivity. And what makes it almost weirder is that he'll turn on every once in a while. Yeah, by the way, he beat Wakamotoharu.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And he beat him with that that very like the decisiveness. Like when he's on, the way he drives, the way he's just like you do not belong in my ring. That aura to him.
It's the reminder of the Ozeki potential.
Yes.
He beat Takakeisho?
Yeah.
I didn't know that he went that. I didn't realize that he had faced him.
Well, he beat Takakeisho with busted knees.
Okay, was that like the day after the injury?
So yeah, Takakeisho got injured against Ryuden, I think, or might have been against Abi. There was that one match that he was walking back and he was doing like the bounces and the bends. Okay. It might have been against Abi.
And then Ryuden's an easy matchup.
Ryuden he just put the pedal down. But then against Mitakeumi, and the two of them have a rivalry, by the way. They do.
Yeah, they do.
So Mitakeumi basically pressured up against him, and Takakeisho's knees just couldn't handle it.
Got it. Okay.
So that's how he won it. And then after that, it was all she wrote for him. But
yeah, I blanked out all of Takakeisho's matches after day one.
Well, I'm sorry, he was 0-15 this year.
Yeah.
But so I don't know who this person is.
Yeah, it's almost like I forgot he was even in the tournament.
He was such a non-factor, and
he didn't look like...
It's frustrating when you see him losing in situations he should be winning. Like when people putting any pressure on him, and you're like, oh, you'll push back, right? You'll reverse him, right? You've got him on the belt. You'll just drive, right? Right? But it's like, no, it's his stunt doubles fighting for him today. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I mean, we always knew that he had these momentum issues. But I do wonder about an injury, but at the same time, like, you can't see what the problem is.
You don't see it. So you don't know if it's physical. You don't know if it's mental. He just gives up at the edge some days.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I feel bad for Hiro, who has to announce these.
Yeah, Hiro must not be too happy these days.
Hiro had mentioned, like, it looks like he threw in a towel at the end. I'm like, I know that's a knife in the heart.
Yeah.
He has to say that to the viewing public.
He's stinging over this one.
A little bit. So... we need to find him and bring him back.
He didn't go on his journey like we,
No, he didn't.
Maybe after this tournament.
Maybe. So, Mitakeumi, please come back to us. We miss your sumo. And maybe you'll be low enough that you'll get some double-digit wins. At this point.
But he's still got to beat all those new guys.
Still got to be able to, which will be fun. All right. Well, in any case, let's go over to Nishikigi, Megashira 3 West, 6-9. He was outworked. So I will say his shining moment is his win against Hoshoryu. We want to talk about knocking Hoshoryu down a peg. Hoshoryu goes in, gets his favorite stance, pivots to throw. Nishikigi's just like, oh, I see you're open. Throw.
Well, the best part is I'm pretty sure one of Hoshoryu's beautiful hankas was against Nishikigi, like a couple tournaments ago.
A little bit, yeah.
So Nishikigi might be like, all right, come here, you little young punk.
Come here, you little brat.
Let me show you something.
So this was Hoshoryu needing to get his stuff together, and that was hilarious because like they played it in Nishikigi's hands, and this is another thing. Like if it wasn't Nishikigi, he might have been able to get away with it, but Nishikigi's just like, I know what's going on here. I'm gonna throw you.
You're gonna try to play me.
You're gonna try to play me, nah. And so this was good. Also, it's always good to see, like, when you're doing this badly, to rally back
and just beat everybody out.
Beat everybody else. So they gave Ryuden's no gimme, and Kotoshoho's no gimme either. This
was good Kotoshoho.
This was good Koto. We'll talk about that. This was Kotoshoho who's done with this losing business.
Yeah.
And then this is Ryuden who's higher up and not done with the losing business, but is going to give him a fight for it. And this is Tamawashi who's. So he's probably the king of the strugglers, and that he failed the least. And again, it's like we've been saying with everybody else, like these veterans are just paying the bill after all the kids run around the playpen.
Exactly. And
so
at some point, the veterans had to look like veterans.
Yep.
And this was this tournament.
Yep. So if he was, I feel like I don't know how much of this was even in his control. I don't know how much of this was something he could have done. I feel like he wasn't as aggressive as he was in past tournaments.
Yeah, but look at
Murderer's
Row as well.
Will aggression help you against Daieisho? Will it help you against Wakamotoharu? No. Will it help you against Kotonowaka? No. Will it help you against... So, who knows? Throwing my hands up. Like, Nishikigi ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just he didn't have it. and that is the bitter pill we must swallow.
Right.
As Nishikigi fans. So, unfortunately, better luck next time, kid.
He won't drop as far as some of these guys.
No. He's going to be at the bottom of the meat grinder, so he's still going to be having the chance to rally back. Yeah. So he did get the Takakeisho Fusensho, which was super nice. But he did get a Tobizaru Henka, and he was one of the 4 matches that Mitakeumi woke up. That's bad luck for him.
Yeah, that's bad luck.
So.
Because he could have easily gotten a sleep Mitakeumi.
A little unlucky, but then he dug himself out of his own grave, which is, again, always good to see that rally, even though you're in the hole already.
Especially at the end, because at the end of the tournament, you can build off of that for the next tournament.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're no longer going to be talking about building, unfortunately. This sucked. I feel like this and Takakeisho. I was going to make a joke about how Onosho saw that his proclaimed rival went out with a knee injury, and he says, 2 could play at that game.
I know, and it was like this. They also said it was the meniscus. That's actually 3 guys who have a meniscus issue.
The knees are a disaster. Onosho 4, 5, and 6. Megashiro 4 East. This sucks because he felt like he figured it out. He had this hole here. He had the peacock strut. He had diversity of moves. He was wrecking people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then he tweaks his knee in the loss. Goes Kyujo. These 2 losses. This Midorifuji, this Endo. These are both Henkas. So
yeah,
if he figures that out, those are 2 wins. And all of a sudden, he's 6-3.
Right.
So keep that in mind. So,
yeah, he's got to guard against the Henka because he is a prime person that somebody would want to Henka.
Yeah. So again, this is the really getting it together, but then there goes the knee.
Yeah, that's what we've been going through for a while now. Like, you start to see somebody do something good, and then they get hurt.
This one hurts. We've been giving Onosho a hard time, and then he finally got sick of us blasting him on the podcast and pulled it together. He looked bigger and bulked up too.
He did.
He was getting an extra bit of Osaka-chenko. Everything looked like it was going forward for him, and now it's this.
It's just not right.
I don't want it. So, Onosho, I hope you don't have the same issues that Wakatakage has. I hope you can come back in May. You're going to get a bit of a healthy slap down.
Maybe a rest or so.
A little rest. We'll see. Unfortunately, he has to restart, which I hope he can get the engine started a little quicker than he has before.
Yeah, because he's starting to run out of time.
So, Meisei. This was a bad tournament. This was a bad day. Megashiro 4 was 5-10. Not a veteran, but has to pay the bill like everything else. So I don't know if this is a positive or a negative, but I feel like this 5-10, probably for the first time recently, this was all Meisei, not his injury.
Yeah.
I feel like if this was the Sanyaku Meisei, who was transported through time and space to fight in this tournament, that it would also be a 5-10. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of this issue isn't a back problem, isn't a timing problem, it's a Meisei problem.
Yep.
And again, like, on one hand, it's like, oh, hey, look, he's finally at his fighting fit. But on the other hand, it feels like things are now passing by him.
Yeah, maybe that's because it's taken him so long to get into a position.
Yeah, and the thing is that he was frustrated. You could see he was mad. There's a couple of people in particular that, like, you can tell there was an anger, there was a frustration, there was a mental issue going on. And what's also kind of frustrating is that, like, there were a couple of matches that, like, he had his moment, but then his enemies do some real good stuff. So he did a pull on Endo. He went the entire length of the dohyo pulling on Endo, which I feel like anyone else, he gets that win. But Endo, props to Endo, getting that immaculate balance and then just letting him run himself out.
And that's one of the things where perhaps with Meisei, he has the wrong game plan for the wrong people.
Yeah, because then he goes into Abi and he stands and delivers a great match. But then Abi's just like, okay,
right,
okay. So there is like a strategy thing going on with him, Kiribayama chucks him after he lets him get the belt, and that's when Meisei just does like the really, really mad. And so also like Kiribayama, so like right here is when he's mad, and then so the rest of this is just whatever. So I don't know what to say for Meisei at this point. I feel like just his raw grit is starting to expire on him.
He's getting a little dull.
It's that you can only swim upstream till the current's too strong.
Yeah.
I feel like the current's just getting too strong for him.
And he's getting pushed all the way back.
Yeah. So in a way, this is good because it means that the quality of sumo across the board is increasing. And this is something that we've been wanting, and this is also what we're talking about before, about how we have technically 3 to 4 Ozeki runs now in tandem, which is beautiful. Again, but it's like whenever there's good news in sumo, there's got to be bad news for someone.
Exactly.
You don't have a stack of double digit wins without somebody eating those.
Right. Somebody's got to lose for these other guys to win. So I mean, it's bad news for him in the sense that he's getting passed by.
I feel like I need to sort of watch him more closely going forward.
And see what exactly is going on.
Try to get that angle on it because I feel like there's like 25% of what's going on with Meisei sort of beyond my vision. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I feel like I've sort of let him down in a way that I was sort of just like, oh, Meisei, he's just doing Meisei things. He's being fast. He's being speedy. It's all sumo heart. There's some technique. He's got some things to work on. I was just like, what does he got to work on, boy?
Yeah. Why isn't it working?
Why isn't it working? You know, I feel like I was reading the textbook and 2 of the pages got stuck together.
Exactly.
And so now like 3 questions on the test are between those stuck pages. I'm like, crap.
I'm not gonna pass this test.
I'm not gonna pass this test. I'm gonna lose the quiz today. So that's where I am with Meisei right now. Meisei, help us out. If people have an inside track on Meisei, I need this info.
Yeah, give us something in the comment section. Is he fighting hurt or what?
Did Meisei come up during any of the conversations during the live chats?
I mean, I brought him up briefly as far as like I always count on Meisei to be a spoiler, and he's nowhere to be found.
That's true.
But no one said anything this time around.
Well, if anybody's been paying better attention to Meisei than I have, please, I need that track.
Yeah, give us something.
So, well, in any case, Meisei, he needs to go back to that drawing board. Whether or not I figure it out is of little consequence.
Right. He kind of needs to figure it out.
You know. Oh, Meisei, by the way, if you're listening to this, just give me a call.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
Why don't we just have Meisei tell us?
Yeah, there we go. Get him on the show.
Do you speak Japanese?
No.
Darn.
No, I'd be on Google Translate the whole time.
Darn.
Konnichiwa. Watashi wa Jan desu.
Arigato, Meisei-san.
Meisei Zeki.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. So from completely lost to completely found, despite the rank, Kotoshoho, 6-9, Megashira 5. So you look at the 6-9 with the Kotoshoho, there's 2 things that makes this not bad. One, I still feel he was over-promoted.
Yeah,
understandably over-promoted because he nearly took it from Takakeisho at the end of everything.
Right, this sort of thing happens sometimes.
So this is a bit of him sort of thrown into the waters. And again, let's do this again. Midorifuji, Takayasu. Actually, no, he didn't fight too many of the bad people. Never mind Kotoshoho. But what I will say is that the nerves were there, but a little too high up. Here's the thing. The best sumo from Kotoshoho, and arguably of the entire tournament, when he was 1-8. This 5-win streak right here. Some of the best stuff I've seen out of him. And
he looked angry. Somebody struck a nerve.
Yeah. And keep this in mind. So he is 1-8 here. And his next match is against week 2 Wakatakage, the unstoppable machine, and he outworks him.
Yep.
So this is how Kotoshoho turns this around. I feel like Kotoshoho from a year ago, this is 1-9. Right. But this Kotoshoho says, nah, screw this. I'm done with this. I'm turning it around now. And then he goes in this run. And this Ura fight. Oh my god. The 2 of these guys have such good matches.
It's a shame he couldn't have beaten Nishikigi at the end there.
Yeah, that did suck a little bit, but Nishikigi was also done with it.
Right. He's like, I'm done with losing.
Both of these guys were done with losing.
And somebody had to lose that match.
Yeah. By the way, this I had mentioned this with Ryuden. Ryuden gets Kotoshoho's belt. Kotoshoho's just like, I'm not dealing with this.
I think that was the match where I really saw the anger from him, where he was just like, no, enough, and just throw him.
This fight, every fight Ura was in was a good fight.
Ura was just amazing.
So, but Kotoshoho out chaoses Ura. So again, like here's three people in their element, and Kotoshoho beats them in their element. Goes onto their turf. You know, they got their home crowd, and he beats them while they're booing him out. So this is very promising for the mental issues, the resolve issues, the can't get it together issues that we were afraid was going to go away. Now, again, if you over here would have been nicer, but more than enough to work with.
Well, when you were saying he got over promoted, all of his major issues were in week 1. He might have just been really overwhelmed to start off, and hopefully he learned something from it, and he'll concentrate on his week 1 for the next, for the May tournament.
I am hopeful this will be the case. I feel like this is not the damper on it. It's just a hiccup along the way.
Yeah.
And we will keep our eyes on Kotoshoho going forward. We don't want to put too much pressure on him. He's still figuring it out.
He's one of those mental case guys.
It's a bit mental for him, but there's been more progress mentally shown in this tournament than has been since, again, like almost most of last year. Because he came back from that Juryo stint, he was still getting his footing. I think like the tournament back, he did really well, but then after that, it was sort of a little wishy-washy. Then everything clicked in January, and now here, the results don't show it, but there's definitely some sumo spirit there.
And of course, I picked him to win it all, and it was like, it might be my fault.
A little bit.
We
may have to put him on the kibosh list at least for a little bit until he gets
don't pick him for a little while.
A little while. Put him on a cooldown. Unless viewing audience, you feel like you've really got it going, you got the confidence, then put him in the comments.
Yeah, maybe Kotoshoho needs to be voted for every tournament.
Maybe who knows? We have to keep an eye on it either way. So next up, wild Midorifuji 10-5, Megashira 5 West.
Just look at that little visual there.
This right here.
Man, that is rough. Like, if he could have just taken 1 or 2 more, it's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. Okay, who is not on the Midorifuji hype train at this point? I need names. I need to hand them tickets because we are all on this train now.
That's
right. We are all on the hype train because Midorifuji is the big man, small man sumo like phenomenon of recent sumo.
And he showed, when he first came up, he showed his abilities very early on. Like, we had just lost Enho down to Juryo and hadn't had him for a while. And here comes Midorifuji to replace him. And here he is a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger. And his techniques are a lot more like finishing techniques. Enho's doing a lot of scramble and a lot of craziness. Midorifuji can put you in your place. And finally, we're seeing the results.
So, again, keep in mind, Wakamotoharu, Wakatakage, Daieisho, Hoshoryu. Now, fittingly, the guy who's 10-0 should be thrown to the wolves.
Of course.
And he was. And he just wasn't here yet. He's won against Sanyaku before, so this was not insurmountable. It's just it didn't work out for him this time around.
Well, especially, you're very tired at the end of a tournament, so this was to test and see what he could do, and he didn't pass the test.
He didn't pass the test. So, Kimarite of the day. I love this about him. Every tournament, he pulls out something I've never heard of before. So, against Tobizaru, that was a great fight, by the way, against Tobizaru.
Oh, that was one of my favorites.
He does Waridashi, which is an upper arm force out. So, what this is you're like perpendicular to your opponent. You reach across his chest. You push him from the other side, and this gives him a pivot that knocks him off of balance. Absolutely wild. And that fact alone really underscores what Midorifuji is doing so well, which is fighting with a strength that seems impossible. Wakatakage does this too. Like, the way he's shoving people around, he's dragging people, lifting people. I think he just, like, grunted aoiyama out of it.
That was nuts.
Ow! Aoiyama's huge. How do you do this?
Right, you look at this little man, and you're like, how does he look like he has more power than everybody else?
Yeah, and he, like, also, aoiyama, Takayasu, these people are just cracking him in the face, left and right. Midorifuji just somehow eats it, goes through it, has to be concussed, has to be something,
Oh, definitely.
and just doesn't care and gets you out and gets it done. This is just incredible sumo.
He's like an anime character or something.
It's wild, and really, this is just the call out from the lower end. Like, we already got 8 people in Sanyaku, and this guy's like, oh, you got a number 9 coming.
Exactly. You better open it up.
You better open it up. Somebody up there is gonna make room for me. This is nutso.
Well, I really hope he puts this together again in May, because I've been a big fan of his for a long time. It just didn't know, could he put it together being such a small guy.
And here's the thing. He's going to be up there. He's fighting all these bastards.
And I think
he's fighting them all.
Yeah, no, I think he could take out Wakatakage, Hoshoryu, Kiribayama. He's capable of beating any of them. Is he capable of beating all of them in the same tournament? I don't know.
It's going to be he's going to put it through its paces one way or the other. Him fighting Wakatakage again, even these losses, putting it all out there.
He's not taking down a healthy Terunofuji, though.
Probably not.
Takakeisho he has beaten. He has tricked him into arm pulls. And
I feel like this was nerves. I feel like when you're 10-0 and then they start throwing the best of the best at you, that you're just going to crack. So that's going to get better.
Yep.
The sumo's there. The power's there.
He now has the experience of being in that situation.
Uh-huh. He's got both Nishikifuji and Terunofuji, assuming he comes back in May, all on the same team, wrapping these people up.
There must be some secret training regimen that Terunofuji has given Midorifuji, like, because Terunofuji is massively, massively strong. They must just. I actually know for a fact that they do have some sort of weightlifting thing that's their stables thing. Mm. Whatever it is, Terunofuji, because there was a lot of talk that Terunofuji and Midorifuji were communicating like every single day during this tournament.
That helps. That's a big factor.
So he does have that going for him, whereas the other guys do not have that going for them.
So this tournament, for the first week, there was the hope of the Fuji playoff. And can you imagine in May, where we've got Midorifuji versus Nishikifuji versus Terunofuji? It is more likely than you think. So I'm adding this to the bucket. So we've got our Waka brother playoff, and now I'm adding in the Fuji playoff as things that probably aren't going to happen, but we now have a non-zero chance. And how wild would it be if we have the 3 of those guys on a round robin? We'll throw Takarofuji in there for good measure.
Right, just helping everybody, just helping Terunofuji out, helping Midori, Terunofuji's helping Midorifuji, Midorifuji's helping Terunofuji, Takafuji's just cleaning up.
And then we get to the very end on day 15, and all 3 of them have the same score.
And you're like, all
right, and
we have to fight.
Yeah.
I know you could face each other in a playoff, but you could also face each other.
Playoff. It's the same.
It's only playoff.
It's the same rule as
the brothers.
As brothers. So it's in the same bucket as Wakatakage and Wakamotoharu.
But what would happen if Terunofuji and Midorifuji had the same record on day 15?
They have to fight other people.
Oh, that's interesting.
And if they both win,
then they would fight in the playoff.
Then it's friendship gone for the next 5 minutes.
I am waiting for the day that we either get brothers fighting for the championship or we get stablemates.
This is as close as we're gonna get. I feel like, definitely with Wakatakakage's knees being suspect right now. The Waka brothers thing was a pretty good chance. I feel like this is also a pretty good chance. I mean, the way that things are, we're not probably gonna get it.
But you never know.
If we want to hedge our bets, if we want to make some wild.
Could you imagine though? I would love to see Midorifuji and Terunofuji, because obviously the size difference is immense, but they know each other. They know each other so well.
I'm putting that in my list of hopes and dreams. So Midorifuji, excellent sumo, raising the bar up, shaking this whole tournament up all the way to the last week. Wild ride.
I really hope he puts himself in as the number 3, number 4.
Let's keep that train rolling. All aboard the Midorifuji hype train.
Yep.
So next up, Endo. This is another personally feels really good to talk about. Megashira 60s 9 and 6. Our secret Yokozuna comes back.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. So in January, I'm like, he's showing signs of life. I was just like, I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna be cautious because he ebbs and fades. He was hungry for it. He was in the Yusho concentration. He was 9 and 2 right here. He was on that board. Yeah. And again, like everyone else, then they, as they should, threw him to the wolves, and
he just didn't pass.
And well, at that point, that's not Endo's fault. At that point, that's just they just find somebody harder and harder until he couldn't figure it out.
Right, and they threw him to the wolves at the end, where these guys are all fighting for the championship. So
and he beats Shodai and he beats Kotonowaka, so it's not like he was handing it off. And before, his losses were to Takayasu and Midorifuji. So he's winning against the right people, and the people he's losing against are real absolute badasses. So
that he could, in theory, beat. I mean, he has a lot of techniques in his bag.
Yeah. So his biggest strength was his tactical masterclass, particularly on defense. Kotoshoho throws the entire ring at him, and he just parries, moves back, eats the damage. Everything's fine. And I mentioned this with Meisei. Meisei, usually when people have that entire ring and they pull you back against the entire ring, there's nothing you can do. You're just going to stagger down, particularly because you can just lunge backwards. Endo keeps his balance impossibly. Mm-hmm. Everything looking really good. And so for me, this is always the Endo problem, is that what we call it the 9 to 5 Endo, where he does it, but this doesn't. He hits a point where it's just like, eh.
It's not worth it anymore.
Enter Hiradoumi, who has the completely opposite mentality, which is that Hiradoumi is going to fight for every scrap. It's sort of like when you throw scraps of meat, and you have like 4 dogs, and you just chuck it over the fence, and they all just.
Yep.
That's Hiradoumi, and then you have Endo, who is usually
Mr.
Time Clock.
Yep. Yep.
So Endo keeps pace with Hiradoumi and outlasts him. And Hiradoumi on the belt, trying his damnedest. Endo staying composed, staying at his pace. Very good signs. Yeah, very positive signs.
There was something about Endo that was a little bit different in terms of he wasn't like the, throw his fancy sumo at you, and if it doesn't work, oh, well, I lost. He really wanted to win.
He wanted to win and came as close as it's been in a while. Again, this is this 4 out of 5 right here.
Yeah, if he doesn't lose to Hoshoryu, then maybe, he keeps winning. That match was, whether it was an intentional Hanka or, like you said, Hoshoryu was just too quick on the Tachi Eye.
Yeah.
That's the match that collapsed this tournament.
Yeah, so I for one am glad to see the return of the Endo that I have grown so fond of.
I really would like to see Endo win a Yusho.
This is pretty close. I don't know if this is as close as he'll get. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if he could do this 10-day stretch again, then he may be on that leaderboard as well. Come May.
Yeah.
It's very good news. Unfortunately, now we have to talk about less than good news. Sadonoumi 6 and 9, Megashira 6 West. Another person who had visible frustration. And it felt like, it did feel like watching him that like he knew what he needed to do, but he just couldn't do it.
Right.
That he was just getting shut down. Maybe he just wasn't responding quickly to things. Maybe it was he made a guess and the guess was wrong and the momentary lapse, and he's like, I knew I should have done that one thing. Like that felt like the story for Sadonoumi.
Well, that's the thing about Sadonoumi is he is a veteran.
Yes.
And sometimes those little things are the difference between a win and a loss. So he might have this great plan in his mind, but he's just not as quick.
Not as quick. I feel like the loss against Ichiyamamoto was very telling of that, because Ichiyamamoto was doing his chaos thing of just flailing about and somehow making it work. More often than not, but we'll get to that. And Sadonoumi, like he had a moment that if he drove, if he just had that little half-step urgency faster, that Ichiyamamoto would have been gone. but he didn't get it in time. Ichiyamamoto flails, and Sadonoumi goes out instead. I think that was the one that he falls off the dohyo, and then there's that moment that like he's slumped up against the back of it.
Yeah.
And he does like that, like the visible exhale, sits there for 2 seconds, and then gets up, not because he's injured, not because he's got the wind knocked out of him, because he knew he had it and it slipped through his fingers.
Yeah, to see him like visibly frustrated just shows you it's a different Sadonoumi than we've been seeing in previous tournaments.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't be, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we heard of a retirement coming very soon.
Maybe. And if not from Sadonoumi, then from one of the people in this cluster.
Yes, I'm not necessarily singling him out, just throwing him in the veteran pool of these guys are starting to look older, and these retirements come out of nowhere.
Yeah, so the double-edged sword of frustration is, first off, there's the mental game. Like, if you're angry, if you're not focusing that much, that could sort of be a negative feedback loop. But when you're particularly a veteran who may be fading, the frustration is like signs of life.
True.
So, like, for Meisei, super frustrated, you're just like, okay, he's trying. He's not throwing it in the towel. And so for Sadonoumi to be frustrated, to be like, I almost had Takayasu, and then I lost it, that means that he's still hungry for it, which means when he gets knocked down a few pegs, there's more of a hope for him coming back up. Now, is this going to be more of a Ryuden or more of an Okinomi? That's what we're going to have to find out.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
is this him? Is this the sumo sense is getting a little bit too fast, or is this that he's losing it?
Right, and you know, once you figure that out, if he figures out, oh, the tank is empty, then you get those surprise retirements.
Yeah, but I don't think that'll be in the cards for him, at least not immediately. I feel like there'll be more.
Yeah, 6 and 9 is not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. He'll be in the veteran prime position come May.
Right.
So that sweet spot, that's that 7 and 9, where the veterans like to hang out. So going over to this guy, Hokutofuji, Megashira 77 and 8. Okay. The panic about right here was massive for me. He was 0 and 4. His leg, he looks like he's lost muscle mass. His legs are thinner. His arms are thinner. It looks like he's losing an edge. And so when he was 0 and 4 and like getting knocked around by everybody, now in retrospect, Takayasu, Endo, Midorifuji, like these are, looking backwards, these are all people you're gonna lose to this tournament. But as
you're watching it in real
time, as you're
time,
watching it live, also him pulling is a big red flag for me.
Oh yeah, because he's not a puller.
He pulled this tournament several times. Now then he had this 7-0 stretch that I was like, oh thank God, got me worried. And this was again like this isn't like him pulling and panicking on this 7-0
It was like
stretch.
him going back to normal.
So like this is this weird like maybe he wasn't even ready for the tournament these 4 days, and then now he's fighting the way he should be. Forward, strength, persistence. Loses it at the end, which also concerns me.
Yeah.
But this weird streakiness, and now Daieisho, Wakamotoharu, losing to Takafuji on the last day.
That was a little concerning.
So I want to give that one to Takafuji, who was
fighting for his life,
2 and 7, and goes on a 6-win tear out of absolutely nowhere. When I and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people were like, "Oh damn it!" But this is a weird hot and cold that I've not seen out of him before, and that's just adding to my list of concerns for him.
Is he officially on the watch list?
He'll be like here next tournament. If he gets a double digits, I'm gonna be officially like praying the rosary for him. Not quite there yet, but at least it was good to see that this 7-0 stretch did feel good to watch.
It did. It felt like he was back.
He felt like he was back. Beats Ura, beats Kotoshoho, beats Kotonowaka. This felt really good for me.
Oh yeah.
Blasts him out. Kotonowaka in the crowds. So, exhausted me watching Hokutofuji this tournament. I hope that's not a.
You're like sweating.
Hope it's not a trend, but we'll see. At least with the 7 and 8, he's not going to be moving too far down.
When you start seeing him in lower spots, now you can really panic.
That's the panic. That's the Takanosho panic that we're going to get to. So, good news. Megashira 7 West, Takayasu 10 and 5. I'm a little worried about this block of space right here. But to then see this Hoshoryu win and the Uro one was, oh my god, he beat the crap out of Uro. Oh man.
There's an example where I thought Uro was dead and he's like just bounces right back up.
Oh my god, the brutality. So Takayasu the first week has that I'm still Ozeki aura to him. Like runs out of steam here. I'm not honestly sure what happened. But like the power went out, his aggression went out, he was more reactive, and then like he snaps out of it the last 3 days. Like against Shioshoma, he's just like, what? You're trying to belt me? Time to die.
Right. Oh, and his beautiful, beautiful tossing of Hoshoryu like he was trash.
So, fun to watch. Also a bit of a relief because, again, Takayasu hit this weird second week fade. He never fades. He chokes. He's not a fader.
Exactly. And it seemed like this might be another opportunity for him to go for the Yusho.
Yeah, like right here.
In that first week, I thought, okay, we're going to have this Takayasu thing. I was actually surprised to see him losing these matches.
Yeah. So, like, this loss against Midori, this was the both of them were 6-0 on this match. So this was a really good match. And also this hyped Midorifuji to high heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knocked Takayasu.
You beat Takayasu, right.
I'm like, wow, if you're doing that, you can actually get somewhere. But that weird week 2 fade, it then went away. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he pulled something here.
Well, and we actually forgot to mention this with Hokutofuji. Hokutofuji has really bad allergies, and he has a terrible time in Osaka. He had hay fever pretty much the whole tournament. So that could actually explain Hokutofuji's woes.
Interesting. That makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, I actually forgot to bring that up to you. It happens to him every single March tournament because he's very allergic to whatever's in Osaka.
Oh, that sucks.
Might be the cherry blossoms. Maybe.
Oh, man.
Boy, you live in Japan. Good thing they only last like a week.
A week. Yeah, this week.
But yeah, Hokutofuji, they were saying that he was suffering pretty bad.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily think this is the case, but what if Takayasu had a little bit of like an illness or something and he kind of got over it?
Maybe.
That used to happen to Takayasu, actually. I remember back in his prime, he would get like ear infections or just something really random sickness.
And weird. Okay.
And he would be out for a couple of days and he'd come back. Maybe he's just got something going on like that.
That's the hope. And with a 10 and 5, he's going to be pole vaulting up regardless of weird whatever the hell this is. So he'll be up here. And then so him and Midorifuji will be knocking on the door to the 8-rung Sanyaku saying, where's rung number 9 or who's moving out for me? So that's
right.
Something to look forward to. And I guess at least he got out of that Yusho talk early so we could just focus
so we
on
could
the
just
sumo.
Watch him.
No rise and fall, just a nice positive climb.
Well, right in the beginning of the tournament, I was like, please don't let it be Takakeisho and Takayasu for the Yusho.
Yeah, you were like that. And it seemed likely because Takayasu is going to be, every time he takes a break, he comes back fresh.
And I thought Takakeisho would like rally after day 1. I should have known better. Should have known that injury was imminent.
In the works, yeah.
But at the same time, like I was thinking, hopefully.
The hope to be there. So, Takayasu back at it. Going to be thrashing these people. Just sharpening the blades of the blender.
Yeah.
Even further.
And getting a little hungry as he's fighting these young guys who are going for everything.
Yeah. And again, like seeing him look at Hoshoryu and say, no. No, you don't.
Oh, you want to play this game with me, huh?
Oh, buddy.
Little boy.
Child.
Bam. I want to like frame that video, like make it a meme. I'm going to make that one a meme. And when I'm having a bad day, I'm just going to keep playing it
over. Not because we don't like Hoshoryu, because we love to see that aggressive energy, which is now almost gone.
Yeah.
Outside of these little pockets.
Right. Not everybody is an aggressive monster. Yeah. Many of these guys are just sort of like your next guy, you know?
This is why we need Terunofuji back, too.
Yeah.
We
need the king.
He had a look that can kill people.
I know, right? You just look at him like, oh,
Oh,
I don't want to fight him.
Yeah, he
He's gonna break my elbows.
And then there was like he does this too. Like there's that 1 or 2 seconds afterwards where he's staring at your mangled body, and he's sort of looking at you. You're just like, are you gonna just bite his neck off?
Yeah, I know, right?
You're gonna lunge him.
It's amazing that Yokozuna aura.
That aura. So we'll get it back. Takayasu never lost it.
No.
So speaking of the complete opposite from a Yokozuna aura, we now have Ichiyamamoto.
Your favorite guy to dunk on.
So when I said put a pin in what we were talking about with Abi, now this is going to come full circle because Ichiyamamoto 4-11, Megashira 8 East, he has the same sort of weird, hang on a minute, I need to rethink this that I had with Abi. Mm-hmm. And so Ichiyamamoto, so it's actually, they're pretty much the same thing, which is then funny because we always talk about how Ichiyamamoto is the store brand Abi. But here's where the break is. So like for Abi, for both of them, we want the same thing. You're tall, you get the good push sumo, you go forward, you stay forward, you figure out how to evolve that. Mm-hmm. And then neither of them are doing that. So Abi is doing his nine-tailed fox, Abi B, moving backwards, being able to read people thing really well. Ichiyamamoto is panic.
Yeah.
He is pure, unadulterated, somebody pulled the fire alarm.
You see the look on his face when things aren't going right, and it's like the middle of a match.
It's like Courage the Cowardly Dog is now a sumo wrestler. So now in my mind, when I'm going after him, just again because I like him so much,
and you want him to succeed. I want him
to succeed, so I start dunking on him. And there is some match, like he got bug-eyed. It was almost a cartoon.
He's like, whoa.
I know. And then I had this moment, I'm like, hang on, maybe this is Ichiyama. Maybe you're trying to put him in a box he doesn't belong.
Like, this is who he is.
Maybe this is who he is this whole time. I had this weird revelation. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I now need to reevaluate everything. Because all of his wins and most of his losses were the same way. The flailing, staggering, spinning all over the place.
It's like, get away from me! Get away from me!
I want to call backsies. It's weird.
Can we start over?
So him fighting Ura with that kind of energy, I love it. He loses, unfortunately. This is him and Tobizaru also have a very similar energy that they fought.
That's true.
Their brand of sumo is this weird chaos. And they brought that out of their opponents, but then lost.
Right, because the opponents have something to do with that energy. They haven't learned how to channel that energy into a win.
Yes. By the by, this was almost an upset win. Takayasu was really close to going out. Really close to going out. And Takayasu just dug deep on that moment. And if Takayasu didn't dig deep, that would be a 5-10 and a wild story.
Yeah.
So Ichiyamamoto is now this flailing, slap-down, staggered, run-out machine who will never fight a clean match again.
No.
Yeah, seeing him do this was fun, and once I sort of made this, I'm like, oh, this is just him. It became fun. I'm a little concerned about this 11 right here, but
yeah, it's a bit too many losses.
A bit too many losses for this to be a viable strategy.
Yeah.
But similar to Abi, and again, this is where these two people. It's like, imagine if he got his push game going to that where it was a little bit more reliable, but then if people go back. Then Courage the Cowardly Dog comes back, and he goes bug-eyes and screams and flails and just runs all over the place.
Has he faced Abi?
I don't think they've... I think maybe once. Hang on. Let's find out.
That's a match that I would love to see.
I feel like that happened once.
Me too.
It's Oho. I'm just looking for short names at a glance. Ura, almost. No. No.
So this is something that we have to wish for, put on our wish list.
He's going in the wrong direction for it, but
he is. But think about it, like,
oh my god,
there's some people who think they look identical. Could you imagine, like, somebody who's never seen sumo see those two fighting each other? Like, are they brothers?
Are they brothers?
Is this a mirror?
Imagine that's the kind of match that this happened once before. I think it was Tobizaru and somebody else. Like that's the double henka match. That they just both go to the side, they stare at each other, and then they
run back into the middle.
They run back into the middle, they start filling each other, they both pull at the same time.
Everybody's going in, like, they're going in one direction 1 second, the other direction another. Somebody grabs a top knot and knees somebody in the face.
Oh, no.
Like, whoops, we're not supposed to do that.
We have our first double foul of the tournament. Not since the Reishi era began have we seen this. Wild. So, Ichiyamamoto, I think I need to reevaluate you, but you also need to do something about losing, because otherwise we're going to lose you.
Exactly. You're going to be career Juryo if you're not careful.
All right. So, anyway, more controlled chaos, more enjoyable chaos, and I think every single day I look forward to his matches.
Yes.
Megashira, 8 West, 9-6. First off, the 9-6 are very nice.
He gets quite a nice applause from the crowd.
Yeah. So he had so he also has the flailing, the pivoting, the staggers. Gets the crap beat out of him by Takayasu. Yeah, him and Ichiyamamoto had a day of it. They were both staggering each other. Ura did this thing that he was like on the edge. He's like, no, we're good. When he's fighting, like my notes started to become me just going down and just summarizing every fight that Ura did. I'm like, on this day he did this, on this day he did this. I'm sort of just like, you're just summarizing the tournament. It's not an evaluation.
Right.
You're just too much enjoying.
Well, it's hard to analyze when you're having such a blast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to dub Ura Majin Buu because,
yes.
I mean, it's easy to do that with the pink belt and everything. But, I mean, somebody will absolutely bend him into a pretzel and crash him out of the dohyo, and he'll just pop back up, and all of his limbs will just pop back to normal. You think, oh, he's got to have broken something, and he's like, no. And then he comes up with a big smile on his face, and you're like, what happened? He's not done yet? Like when Terunofuji tried to knock him down, and he was like in a back bend, and he had to like slap him back down. I mean,
yep.
He is literally Majin Buu.
This was a legitimately good match because he outcast Shodai, who is controlled chaos. First time we get to talk about Hokutofuji. This match was interesting because Ura had like one of his arms pulled about 2 feet above his head, but he was still fighting and pulling and dragging.
It's like, how are things happening still?
And came shockingly close to pulling somebody twice his height into a throw. It was great fun. But it didn't work out for Ura, which is
all those years he was injured and we were deprived of his beautiful
this bliss known as Ura. With an 9-6, he's going higher, which is good news for higher quality chaos.
Yeah, but usually if he goes too high, it won't be good for him.
If he goes too high, it won't be good for him. But the good news is that he's moving in the direction that we get to see him longer.
Yes.
And hopefully pull these tricks on more people. And
they don't like it. I'm sure nobody likes having Ura as an opponent.
If he gets high enough, they may give him to Terunofuji again.
Oh, yeah.
If Terunofuji was here at Megashira 8, they're not fighting.
Right.
If he's Megashira 6,
maybe.
I mean, that's a big Sanyaku to get through, but they did this before, that if Ura does well enough, they can justify the spectacle.
Oh, yeah, because people want that.
Yeah. I mean, normally I would poo-poo on kind of a thing, but it's Ura. We all want this. Let's be honest. My morals are not that rock solid.
The only time I don't like seeing Ura is when he's fighting Takakeisho, because I'm like, oh, he is the exact type of fighter who could beat him.
All right, so up to down a little bit. Megashira 9 East, Aoiyama 6 and 9. Unfortunately, the March magic for Aoiyama is now officially gone. Because last year it wasn't really there, and now this year it's definitely not there.
We're starting to see a fade from him that seems more consistent.
So good guy Aoiyama, when he beats Myogiryu goes down, stays down for a little bit, immediately goes over to check on him. It's the reflex.
Yeah.
Credit to Kotonowaka, he also does this. Even if he ends up
hurting you
for it, like he doesn't want that.
Right.
So he gets that cred. So he did a couple of things that were out of character. He goes for a belt charge against Nishikifuji, which got him out. So he caught him off guard with that veteran wiles. But most of his other stuff was push, if not push, then pull, if not pull, then lose. It's the Chiyoshoma energy, or the Chiyotairyu energy.
That silly pull, man. It is
ingrained in him.
He can't stop himself, and he's never in the position where he's pulling them from the other end. He's usually like too close to the edge.
So he has a really good like ballerina slapdown.
He does.
That he has pretty practiced. And sometimes, even if he is near the edge, if his slapdown is strong enough, he won't even need the back pedal. He'll just throw you down. but he's becoming much more of a two-dimensional fighter, but with still like just enough veteran tricks to the point that he's not one note, which is what happened to Chiyotairyu before he completely went out.
Yeah, it was obvious he had nothing left.
He had nothing left. So Aoiyama has something left, but the fade is definitely there.
It's dwindling.
There's a bit of a stumble, and like if the hope was he'd be able to get something back going in March to keep him going.
I think I heard he's getting Japanese citizenship, or he did.
He's got it.
So at least that means he's coaching.
Yeah, which this could be part of him, being a little bit more sports. Well, not sports. That's the wrong word. Like brotherly camaraderie.
Right, because
more
at some
focused
point,
on health, because that's where his brain is going. That's where his mindset is. He wants to help nurture people.
And that could be why we're starting to see the fade. A
little bit more of the fade.
He might actually be starting to transition into thinking about that life.
Yes, it could be. And as is always the case with these things, if you're not 100% full bore deep into this,
you're not going to win.
You're not going to win it. So that could be some of what's going on. Sucks to see him be losing, but again, there is enough there that's not a full panic. I mean, he's going to be within danger area later,
but not out yet.
Not out yet, and maybe he's got another couple tournaments before it's really a big deal. But wrong direction and no March magic.
No.
So next up, Hiradoumi, Mega Shira 9 West 7 and 8, as we had mentioned before, like the raw energy, the sheer drive to fight, present at all times, a pleasure to watch.
He was very close to having an 8 and 7. Just as some of these matches went just a tiny bit differently. He's close.
It's still sanding those rough edges. His biggest weakness are people exploiting his boundless puppy dog hasn't gone for a walk yet today energy.
Yep.
Aoiyama, one person. The veteran Wiles, he slaps him down. Ura reads him, does too much chaos for him.
Can't out chaos Mr. Chaos.
Yeah. Hokutofuji, this was Hokutofuji in his full momentum, just out grits him. So like there are these things. I actually might have been one of Hokutofuji's successful pulls or slapdowns. But anyway, so like Hiradoumi, basically he wants it so badly that people are able to take advantage.
Yep.
And here's what's nice though. He was 6 and 8 here. Goes to fight Oho on the last day, outworks Oho.
Yeah.
That says
he never gave up.
He never gives up. He's just like 8 losses. I don't care. I'm coming out to fight still. Mm-hmm. It says as much about Oho as it does about Hiradoumi, but it is props to Hiradoumi. Again, those last few days when people hit Makakoshi and they still bring it,
you know that they've got something.
They've got something in them. So.
Look at this, like every other day win-loss thing that happened though for the first 10 days.
Also, this beats Takayasu, who this is during Takayasu's weird fade, but still this is a Takayasu who then told Hoshoryu to have a seat.
Right, there was still enough in the tank that he was able to do that.
So we're seeing the signs. Hiradoumi is still a slow builder. In this case, he's a 7 and 8. I can see them keeping rank with the 7 and 8 with him, and so he doesn't lose too much. Mm-hmm. But keep a hold on him. There'll be some people we'll be talking about in a little bit who are definitely got rocket boosters going upwards.
Yep.
He's similar like a Kiribayama energy, sort of a Tobizaru energy.
Yeah.
Let him build. I'll say Kotonowaka energy because we don't want to compare him to somebody who's losing.
Right.
No offense, Tobizaru, but let him grow. Let him build.
He needs to take his time because he's got all the spirit you need.
All the spirit, yeah. It's like those rev cars. You pull them back and they launch. Mm-hmm. It's just like he's got the launch. Now we just got to give him the track.
Slowly pulling him back.
Let's see him. He's not sparking yet, but he will. Also not sparking, unfortunately. Myogiryu, Mega Shira 10 East, 5 and 10. The slide continues. So coming into this, we were like, he got a little over demoted. He got knocked down a little bit, and we were like, this is the Sumo Association saying for him to get his stuff together.
Right, and this could have been an opportunity for him to get like a special prize or something, but no, it looks like he wasn't over demoted after all.
No, it's And I guess what's really concerning about this is that I didn't really see him doing anything that was different or like, oh, that's a problem. It was like Myogiryu just came out and did his scrappy veteran fun. Did have some fun with it. Put some dirt on some of the new guys. Oh, only him. Oof. Never mind. I was just like, oh, we're having some good. Nope. No, he didn't. But yeah, maybe we were talking before that there's a few people that maybe we'll hear about that retirement in the next few months.
Maybe it's him.
He's on the list. Sadonomi's on the list. Aoiyama's on the list. We're getting that, unfortunately, getting that list.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how far do you think he's going to drop with that?
5 and 10. So he's still in the top division.
Yep.
There's people lower down that did worse.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only 3 people coming up.
From Juryo.
Possibly 4, but I don't see a 4. I see a 3. We'll
Right.
talk about that in a bit too. But yeah, so he's going to be on our watch list come May. And
used to be him and Okinumi, so I mean, with Okinumi out, it just feels like Myogiryu's not that far behind.
Not that far behind. It's just like when I was watching Kaisei go down. You're like, I don't want it, but
it's time.
It's time, guys.
You don't want to see your favorite guys struggling.
No. You just read the room, guys. You see what's going on. So Myogiryu, it's up to him now to take himself off the list.
Yeah.
So if
he can.
If he can. You know, if he's running out of time, then there's no...
Right, like if he's doing his brand of sumo, quote unquote, and it's not translating, then
that's the fade.
That's when age actually does show up.
Yep, age is a number sometimes.
Yep, sometimes.
So next up, Nishikifuji. Talk back to positive. A little bit ups and downs is 10 and 5, Megashira 10 West. So him and Takayasu have a very very similar, record, if not identical to the day. Oh, almost to the day. Almost to the day.
Close.
Just shift. So, Nishikifuji, so he and Midorifuji both had a similar issue with the whole scandal.
Yes.
No Yokozuna.
It wasn't good for the Fujis.
No, it wasn't good for the Fujis. Nishikifuji definitely took it on the chin compared to Midorifuji, who sort of gritted it out. So now we see scandals nobody's talking about anymore. It's all yesterday's news.
As we surmised.
Yes. And if Terunofuji is whispering in Midorifuji's ear, I can't help but feel that he's also whispering in Nishikifuji's ears. And it seems that if Terunofuji was building up to the point that maybe he was almost going to fight, then he could have been at least in a good enough shape to help them more actively.
Right, like physically be there, maybe chest lend or whatever.
Exactly. So that was a factor that would not have been the case in January. So all these positive things coming forward means that Nishikifuji seems to be back to his old ways. I mean, right here, he was 5-0 alongside with Midorifuji, and both of these guys looked unstoppable. We're like, ooh.
It does show you how, like, you can never know.
You never know.
Week 1.
I will die on this hill. The rank does not matter until day 9. The first 8 days are... Well, actually, the first 7 days are completely useless because we don't even know about Kachikoshi or Makakoshi until day 8 anyway.
Right.
This is my sumo hot take. Shut up about the Yusho race until day 9. Don't talk to me about it. And then... I don't.
And
then
guys,
on
just so you know, I don't.
Then, again, just so people think I have any sort of gumption, on day 2 of Hokutofuji's winning, I go Hokutofuji Yusho over to Maria. So,
It's true. It's true.
So
these rules can be bent.
I am not a man of any sort of strong moral character. But this one thing, like it gets to me. I'm like, people are just like, oh, they could take it. I'm like, day 5.
It's like by the time you get to day 14, the guys you thought were gonna have a great tournament are like gone.
They're gone. So, so he again, him and Takayasu had the same weird issue that like halfway through the tournament, like they lose their steam. And they get winded, and then they get it back.
Right. It's like, how did that happen?
Yeah. So, specifically who I'm reading through. So, Chiyoshoma, this one here. Chiyoshoma outworks Nishikifuji. That's a weird sentence.
That is a weird sentence.
I think Nishikifuji, his power is his aggression.
Is the working.
It's the working. It's that he doesn't let his opponents breathe. Now, all props to Chiyoshoma, by the way, who definitely pulled himself off the list this tournament. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he didn't keep pace, that he fell behind, the fact that Ura was able to out-trick him, These two losses told me something happened in the middle. Now there's this, like you said, there's these allergies. There's
right.
Maybe he got sick. Maybe something happened. I am more focused on these 10 wins and the 5 losses, but I'm just also assuming that this chunk right here was something that happened.
Right. It's the difference between the 10 and 5 and being in the Yusho race.
Yeah. And the same thing with Takayasu up here. Your double-digit wins. You are upwards trajectory. So even with this weird whatever the hell this was, we're still okay. Which is a net positive.
Right. Well, it's funny because when somebody's performing really well, you almost get a letdown when it's only 10 and 5. That's what this is.
This is him. That's exactly what this is. Mm-hmm. Is that you're like, oh man, you could have had the cup, but then
something went weird.
Then you lose the aoiyama.
A Kagayaki.
These are people you should be beating in your sleep. But again, the big fear was that this was going to be a start of a slide.
Yeah, I actually didn't think Nishikifuji was going to do what he did.
No. So, like, in terms of expectations coming in, massive success. In terms of expectations after day 6,
then you get the letdown.
Then there's a bit of a letdown. So, I feel like Nishikifuji's moment is still very close.
Hey, for all we know, him and Midorifuji swap in May.
It's possible. It's entirely possible.
I mean, that's a strong stable right there.
It's very strong. And again, Fuji fight for the cup. Fuji fight for the cup.
I know. Could you imagine if we could have had the Waka brothers and the Nishikifuji, or the Fuji, not brothers, but mates?
Like a weird free-for-all tournament.
Yeah, could you imagine if like everybody was like going against each other for the title in the playoffs? These are things that could happen.
Oh, this is like peak karate movie. So it's Nishikifuji, it's Midorifuji, it's Wakamotoharu, it's Wakatakage 4-way playoff. So they pit Fuji against Waka, Fuji against Waka, and then the winner of those face each other for everything. Mm-hmm. And
it's possible in the sense that like they can't fight each other during the tournament. So if everybody did that good, no matter what the Sumo Association wanted to do to prevent that from happening, they couldn't.
It's a wild four-man blowout. Oh, man.
Come on, guys. Give us excitement until we get a new Yokozuna. I'm begging you.
We've got it. This is the good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Such potential.
Yeah. And so, talking about potential, unfortunately, we're going to have this pivot. Azumaryu, making sure 11 East, 4 and 11.
So many dark circles in a row.
So we talked about the 10 and 0. This is an 0 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 0 and 9. Oof. Big oof. So I remember being very fond of your story that you told when we were talking about him winning before, about how he wasn't able to have the ceremony with his wife until he won.
Yes.
And for me, this almost proves that's exactly what he was fighting for.
Yeah, we talk about that once in a while where if somebody has like a major thing happen and it comes out of nowhere, it's like, oh, what was going on at home? In that case, that is precisely what that was.
It's just like how
I want to get married, so I gotta get this.
He saw the opportunity, he dug every ounce he had, and then he got married, and he started this like easy come, easy go.
Yeah, I did what I could.
It was weird because like there were matches that were like the exact same way that he was fighting him in January, but then he would be like the token effort. Like he tried to defend, but he would hold at the edge. He would just get pushed out, and he just let it happen. Which, on one hand, I'm like, dude, he got it. It's the same thing like with Tokushoryu. He had his Cinderella story, got the Yusho race. Then he, at that point, it's like, do you care what happens after this?
Right, because what's better than this? When are you ever going to get another chance to do that again?
It's like he got the happy ending. He all he wanted, the whole 10 years trying to get the winning record in the top division. He finally gets it, so now everything after this for him is just cake.
Exactly. When you look at the end of his career, or, like we were talking about before, no one's going to remember the slide at the very end. They're going to just talk about the time
the story.
The time that he did it, and then they'll show the wedding ceremony, and then it'll just cut off.
Yeah, that's the story for the grandkids.
Right, you won't hear. 10 years. And he fought for 5 more years and lost every single match. You won't hear that part of the story.
You won't even notice. He'd be like, he retired 3 years later.
Exactly.
Done. That's all you get.
It's like afterthought.
Yeah.
Dot.
So like, personally, I was hoping that we would get another veteran resurgence going on. So there's a little bit of disappointment from that perspective. At the same time, Azumaryu, bless you, you did it.
Yes.
You did it. Who cares?
You know, he's got some Akiseyama for you. You know, like
Yeah.
He's filling the role of like the happy guy, the happy story, doing his thing.
Kiseyama hasn't retired yet. There's still a chance.
He may come back someday.
I'm holding out. Just cautious hope. I mean, he's like slumming in Makushita, so you know.
It's really a small miracle that we got the opportunity to get to know him.
Yes, he'll always be. There's always a special place for that blubberous, beautiful man.
You'll have to get tickets to his retirement ceremony, and that'll be your reason to go to Japan.
Hold that thought.
I'm planning it out now.
Serious. All right, so Azumaryu probably going to be one of the people going down.
Yeah.
So, well, just a brief look down. A lot of people did like well enough not to let him go down. So that 411 right there is not good news.
No.
Not good news. But
especially with his history.
Yeah. So in any case, Azumaryu, nice seeing you. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe not. But again, we're at the happy ending.
Right.
We're at the happy, so it's fine. So, not done with this story. Takanosho. Mega Share 11 West, 8 and 7.
He kind of had to claw his way.
So it's like on one hand, he stopped the bleeding. It wasn't flashy. He got the job done. He has the strength, the technique. It's still that Sanyaku is in there somewhere. I was going through like a list of his wins where I thought he did well, and then I stopped making that list because I'm like, he should be beating these people. You shouldn't say, oh, he did well versus Chiyoshima. Oh, he did well versus Kagayaki. Oh, he overpowered aoiyama. Just like...
You should beat everybody.
You should be there. The fact I'm making this list is a problem.
Yeah, that actually tells the story for you.
Yes. Did outpower Hokuseiho. We're talking about that. So I feel...
So it's something.
It's something. They gave him a Mitakeumi later. Say what you want about Mitakeumi. He's like Sozeki. Again, it's like these are good things. These are him fighting.
Right, there was a time where he fought Mitakeumi every tournament, and they were both, in the Sanyaku conversation.
So there's some positive here, but he is definitely not.
He's not back.
He's not back. He's not back. All he is doing is he has put a tourniquet on the wound. We are stemmed the bleeding. We are moving the right direction. I could see them giving him a somewhat optimistic bump based on his past, but he's still, whatever's going on is still going on.
I wonder what it is. It's really weird.
The nagging injury thing is maybe it's that, because the way he wins sometimes, it's just like it's still in there.
Yeah,
it's that magic. It's sort of like you go to somebody who's just like, oh yeah, I used to play the guitar like 10 years ago, and then you hand him the guitar and they just hit the solo off the rip.
And you're like,
oh,
what?
Wow. Yeah, you're just like, yeah, I just lost the urge. Just like, you still got it.
Yeah, why?
What happened?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where we're at. That is the energy. Takanosho is the retired guitar soloist. So we need his comeback tour.
We do.
We do. We need
he needs to join the band.
We need to call his label up, see if we can figure out the contract. Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's get it. So, speaking of downward track, Kagayaki, this sucks. This 5 and 10.
Speaking of somebody who's not back.
No. It's sort of the pieces were there for him. We had mentioned this coming in, that he was in a position where he was starting to prove himself, but now he's going to have his toughest challenge yet, because a lot of people who are really good are going to be knocking on the door to rip him out.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there goes Daishoho, right? Mm-hmm. Beats Oho. That's interesting. Kotoshoho, who's a little higher up. Takanosho, losing matches he's not supposed to lose, basically.
Right.
And here's another thing, is that he's fighting a lot of people who are able to outlast him. That's the big note. I should have looked at my notes before I started clicking things. Myogiryu, already fading. Veteran Wiles get him through. Terunofuji, same deal. Mm-hmm. Also loses to Terunofuji, like he's the one in that 1 and 9. 1, 2 and 8. So losing to somebody he could have beat. And that's the problem.
Well, notice that Kagayaki and Ryuden also, have a bad tournament together. Is something going on in that stable?
That's a good point.
I feel like there is.
That's another good point. That there could be maybe Maybe they don't have good straw mats in their Osaka hotel.
Well, you know what's interesting is we also talked about this on the live streams. Some of the stable situations are not quite perfect, and some wrestlers would benefit from different stable masters. I don't know if this is the case with Kagayaki and Ryuden, but sometimes there are stable issues, and it will affect these guys.
Yeah, so he's also probably on the way downwards. The fact that both Mitoryu and Tsurugisho won on the last day, good news for them, bad news for him.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, Kagayaki may see all of his hard work over the last 6 months just get outdone and
go right back.
Just down the drain. This is sumo life, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah, if that was a 6-9, he'd be fine.
I know, just one more win.
Just one more win.
And one more loss for the other guys.
Yep. It's that razor's edge.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Kagayaki. But keep, again, and this where this sucks for me is that he's putting in the improvement. You're seeing the sumo getting a little better, and he just has the misstep.
Yep.
So, on the way down. Unfortunate. So, speaking of not on the way down, Terunofuji 8-7, make sure 12 West. Right here, he was 2-7, and we're like, nice seeing you. Goodbye. I had written the book.
The fade is here.
I had wrote my notes down. I'm like, well, fun while it lasted, but finally time has caught up.
I will say this. When he beat Hokutofuji, I'm like, he's going to get an 8-7. So for me, it went from, oh boy, Takanosho's done. Maybe he's retiring to, he's going to pull off some magic. I had a feeling right after that.
This fight with Hokutofuji, the fire. You saw it in him. This is the thing, like, for somebody like Terunofuji who's so reserved, so, like, doesn't...
You can't tell what's going on.
Can't read him. Like, sometimes you can see it in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when you see it, when it is so strong that it is visible in this, like, unmoving, strong, stoic form, like, you know it is a powerful force. And when he fought Hokutofuji, that fire was there. He's like, I am beating him today. Well, I am not losing.
We always, dub Takanoshoji the new guy's challenge.
Uh-huh.
And I think he himself really comes out for those challenges to, like, challenge the new guys.
Yep.
And it brought something out in him. I mean, whatever's going on, it's probably just veteran aging.
It's
he
definitely
still
a
has
fade.
the passion for it.
Yep. So he kicked it. Good news for us. We get another tournament out of him.
Yep.
So how much of this is what I call Shodai defense remains to be seen.
Plenty.
And so that's the concern is did he wake up? Did he wake up against Bushozan and he's just like, I just need to get it done now. I'm going to dig down as far as I can and get it. Or, maybe he just had a crap week. Maybe he got allergies.
Right.
Hard to tell. The trend says that he just decided he wasn't done with the top division yet and just gave it everything he had.
I mean, we think he might be holding out for Terunofuji.
Yeah.
I think if Terunofuji retires, Takanoshoji retires too. Yeah.
The next day.
They're going together.
Yeah, some of that was him realizing, crap, I can't.
Will you come back?
Oh, yeah, he is holding fast. So.
The man has 4 children too, so I mean, he's got a busy life.
It's a busy day.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine people with 4 kids wake up in the day? You're just like, diapers are changed. It's like, I'm in
the middle of fighting a guy.
I'm foot stamps here. You're just,
come on, I need you to.
Yeah.
I need you to take care.
Like,
I've been up all night, lady.
Just like, here, hold this while you do your squats.
Hey, squat the baby.
Squat the baby. Come on, do your foot shuffles and make sure that they're doing their homework.
Yeah, they can get on your back while you're training.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll be better for you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Give him. Yeah. So good luck, Terunofuji, figuring it out. Yeah. He is fighting against time and everything else.
He is, and there's something that's keeping him in sumo. And like I said, my guess is Terunofuji, but it could be something else. Maybe it's an elder stock issue. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't even know how. We talked about it on the live stream too. I'm going to figure out this. They gave me some resources. I'm going to figure out this elder stock thing because it will help me figure out why some guys don't retire when they should. Because I think that's it most of the time.
That could be it too. So there's a lot of 8-7s going on here, by the way. And a lot of people just scraping by.
Right at the end.
So not for Daishoho, but welcome back to the top division 4 years, Daishoho, with an 8-7. His belt sumo was fun to see. He also had that Mitakeumi-esque like smothering. Mm-hmm. Like the good Mitakeumi, not the Megashira Mitakeumi.
Yeah.
And that he was able to put pressure and sort of like let his weight be felt against his opponents, which really got him those wins. Also, so when he fought Kagayaki, he got Kagayaki's arm torqued in such a way that looked very uncomfortable.
Then you don't want to mess with that.
And then Daieisho just walks away. He's just like, "Whoa, what's that? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. This is sumo, buddy." So
yeah, I'm here to win.
So you don't see that in the way that he carries himself, but the way he fought. One day, I'm just like, "Oh, he's not taking prisoners. He's here to fight."
He's like, "I've been here for 4 years, guys."
Yeah. So he had an Iron Man match with Hokutofuji. Hokutofuji leans on him for 2 minutes. That can't be comfortable, but Daieisho digs deep and wins. So he's got the endurance, he's got the technique. I think it's just nerves and timing for him.
Yeah, I mean,
and then whatever.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Skill ceiling a little bit. They threw him Shodai. That's rude.
They're like, "Oh, you want to show off your stuff?"
Yeah. I guess maybe they're trying to buff up Shodai. But anyway, good to see him back. 8-7 means that he's shaking off any sort of jitters. So we're keeping an eye on him. Of the 3 people with Akachikoshi in the new group, he's probably going to be the one that's going to be overlooked, which may be to his advantage.
Yes.
But fun to see the competitor's edge. So next up, another 8-7 scraping it by. This is a completely different story. This is a weird
story.
Koto Echo 8-7 at 13 West stops the slide, and for this 5-day streak right here, we see the magic that could be if he can keep it together,
which we haven't seen from him in quite some time.
The absolute legendary physics-defying defenses, throws, movements. He does have that strong man with a tiny body feel, and that 5-day showed us what he could do with it.
And I was shocked.
If everything worked for him, if all the stars aligned. Yeah, also by the way, this is a win against Kinbozan, who is a badass.
And a monster.
Huge guy. Tsurugisho, he wins by dragging him. Tsurugisho, big guy.
Yeah.
Tsurugisho does not like getting dragged.
Like, we were getting power sumo from Kotoeko.
Then it becomes a little more, I'll say what we expect. Scattershot, wins, loses. He still has the small man Achilles heel that if you catch him out,
you're going to destroy
him no matter how good or bad you are. So he fighting Hokutofuji, for me, this was... Yeah. So he has Hokutofuji dead to rights. He's got the technique. He's got the power. He's moving around. Hokutofuji literally reaches down and picks up the back of his belt. And he does that, and that's how he wins. Not because Hokutofuji is better at sumo, but just because he's a guy with really big, tall arms.
And he can reach around your entire body.
So here's the fun thing. Let's have Kotoeko go on a play date to the Fuji stable. Because all of his problems, Kotoeko's problems, are things that Midorifuji and Terunofuji, obviously, and to an extent Takarofuji, and definitely Nishikifuji, all 4 of these guys do not have the problem, the Achilles heel issue that Kotoeko has. Kotoeko has things that they need.
Yeah, this is something that would help everybody, I think.
So if we do some interstable trading, if the Kotos
meet the Fujis.
Let's have a Koto Fuji play date. And
I would love a reality show.
Imagine this. You have Kotonowaka sparring with these guys. You have Kotoshoho working it out with these guys. This is mutually beneficial.
It is.
This is an interstable training that if this happens, everybody comes out on top. But for Kotoeko, I feel like it's almost like necessary because this Achilles heel is going to drag him off that cliff.
Right, and Kotonowaka is not going to be able to teach him.
No.
Though Kotoshoho, I mean, they have I don't know. Kotoshoho's not the biggest guy, but he's more Kotonowaka than Kotoeko.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So I'm, again, I will cherish these 5 days of pristine.
For 5 days.
5 days, we had the perfect form of Koto Echo. And then we had the regular Koto Echo, who I still like.
Just
doesn't
do him any good.
It was a 3 and 7. It's Koto Echo.
Yeah.
So, and at least he's no longer Makakoshi, so good news there. So, let us
get hyped for a minute.
Bring the noise for Megashiro 14 East. Kimbozan 11 and 4 gets a special prize. Shows up everybody, and if that fourth loss was a little later, he'd be on that leaderboard. But the way he lost, like spread out like this,
yeah,
you didn't really get on there.
Right. There was never a point where he thought, oh, Kimbozan could win.
Yeah. So here's a guy who's a pusher thruster, and we always talk about, oh, pusher, you need to know how to do the belts. He'll just like, I'm gonna grab a belt today. You're like, what? Yeah. He
could do it all.
Yeah. So it costs him the match against Hokuseiho, but there was no hesitation. He's just like, it's belt day, bitch.
Right.
Goes in there.
He's like, I don't really want to try to slap this massive man out.
Yeah. So he is good at fighting. Probably the reason he got to that 11 is because he's good at fighting while he doesn't have advantage. He claws it back.
Yep. And
that's the big thing. When he fought... So, by the way, this... Takayasu had him.
Yeah.
Kimbozan's like, not today.
Yeah.
Fights it back.
That was almost like a things to come kind of match. Like where you could picture Kimbozan fighting the tougher guys.
Yeah. Believe the hype on this one.
Now, he's an older guy, isn't he?
I think so.
That could have something to do with it a little bit.
So, he's...
Yeah, he's older.
25.
25?
26.
Yeah, so not a veteran, obviously, but...
Yeah. So, yeah, also, he was only in Pro Sumo for 2 years, so he's a late joiner.
I wonder what he was doing before sumo.
I do not know, but whatever it was, really
helped him out.
Really helped him out. So, believe the hype on this one. He did the best of all of these prospects, and with that 11 and 4, he's gonna pole vault.
Right,
they're gonna put him up there.
We're gonna get to see some fun matches.
They're not waiting on him.
Nope.
And so he's gonna be right here. Right, the 6. Like, he's going to take Sadonoumi's spot. That's got to be what happens, and it's going to be wild. Because, like, Daieisho, still doing good for himself. It's an 8 and 7. Hokuseiho did better than I thought. I thought the pressure was going to crumple him. 9 and 6, still good. But at 8 and 11 and 4, like this boy.
Yeah, he wins. He wins the battle of the newcomers.
So good. So... fresh start, and we're just gonna throw that into the powder keg that's already going on.
Exactly.
No big deal. So, unfortunately, not everybody made it out the other end. Busho's on. Megashiro 14 was 5 and 10. I'm giving this all to top division nerves. Okay. I am saying that his movements were stiff and uneasy. When he won, he did so in convincing fashion, and then his losses. This is the new minor league pitcher. Gets pulled up from the minors, has to go pitch in the big leagues. The Yankees got 3 people on the DL list in their bullpen, and they just got to pull somebody from AAA. And
it's like, are you ready?
And this guy just gets lit up. Mm-hmm. It's not because he's not good.
It says he's just not quite ready.
It's that he needed that extra year to work it over, and I feel like that's Busho's on. So.
He's going back down.
He's going back down with that 5 and 10. But I expect a return from him. Because the way he was fighting was somebody... Again, he just needed a little bit more time. Because for every time that he did a push out or he'd win, a lot of people... And this is sort of the Hiradoumi problem, but a little bit more magnified. Is people exploiting his motions. Yeah. And that's, again, because he's nervous. He's tense. He's not...
They can read that.
They can read the tension. And so it's just people are able to deal with him. So, Busho's on. Unfortunately, he's not going to stick around, but he will be back. And when he comes back, perhaps we can shake this off.
Right.
And get down to the business of this guy starting to thrash people, because he was fun to watch. Big.
Especially when he beat Oho. It was like, oh, he's making a statement.
Yeah, he is. A lot of people beat Oho that were from the new.
Well, that's...
So, yeah, Busho's on. I didn't get to see enough of him. But you know that feeling of weight when Takakeisho hit somebody?
Yeah.
Bushozan has that.
Right. That just heavy
density. That density. So that's when I felt that kind of a thing, I'm like, there's promise here. There's promise here. So next up, we just mentioned him. Hokuseiho. The prospect with the impossible expectations, I felt.
I actually did a roller coaster with him this whole tournament. Yeah.
So 15 East, 9-6. I felt like Kimbozan had all the expectations, sure, but Hokuseiho had the weight of the world on his shoulders this whole time. I thought he was going to buckle. I thought there was nobody alive who can handle that. But he did a 9-6, and he started out 4-0. Both of these guys started out the first 5 days for Kimbozan and Hokuseiho. I'm like, oh, right, here it comes.
The hype was like strong.
Here's where the struggle starts to hit him. And
what?
Because if he fights too long in Iron Man fights, it just people would outwork him.
Yeah.
And it felt like a couple of his losses were him just like not knowing what to do. It was the nerves. Like he would just be like rigid almost.
Well, there's two factors. So you have the nerves because the upper division is just so different. Every wrestler says this. Kimbozan did an interview where he said it's so much louder. The Tachiais are heavier. That everyone's speedier. All the stuff you hear over and over and over again. Hokuseiho has this really awkward body dimensions. He's got the long arms and he's taller than everybody. So how do you really engage in the Tachiai with a body like that in a time where most of the sumo, I wouldn't say most, but a good portion of the sumo wrestlers are on the smaller side. So if you engage head to head in this aggressive Tachiai, these little small guys are hitting your chest. And then you could even overshoot the belt because his arms are so long.
People go low.
Yeah, so I think he's trying to learn his body dimensions with these upper rank guys. I think it's just going to take him.
It's going to take him time. So the good news is that a lot of this stuff are things that need to be worked out. So it's not like he has talent issues. It's not like he has confidence issues. And it's still a 9-6, so he's going in the right direction, even with the struggle. So he's rising up to meet it. I feel like he's another pulling the race car back and then letting it run.
Right.
Now, he can just come out in May and be like, that was just all nerves, and just start thrashing people. I feel like that's likely, but I feel like it's equally as likely that he's going to be 9-6 and 8-7 and sort of do a Hoshoryu.
Right, for a while.
Gets his footing, and then once the footing is there and he gets used to things here, it's going to be a danger.
I want to see him fight Hoshoryu.
It's going to happen. Inevitable at this rate.
Because you know that Miyagi is going to have that big chart out, and he's going to be like, okay, well, if he does this, do this.
Oh, my God.
If he does this, do this. Or even him fighting Kiribayama, because now you have Kakuru's pupil versus Hakuho's.
Versus Hakuho.
We have like the new competition is in the background.
Yep. Now we have a coach competition. It's very exciting, and we can see it all in Hokuseiho. It's just not rocket propelled, and that's fine.
Right. But once again, like if you saw him 5 years ago when everybody was bigger, I feel like you would have seen just such better engagement.
Maybe.
It's really awkward seeing him try to fight these guys that are shorter than him.
But it did work out for him because against, like I'd mentioned with Koto Echo had him going, and he just like awkwardly picks him up and just brute forces his way out of it. Ura, like I'd mentioned before, he gets Ura's arm in a lock and then just pulls it 2 feet up off the ground. So if Ura had that other arm, it would be dead to rights.
Yeah.
So Hokuseiho will be here eventually. So next up, and oh my goodness, Oho, Mega Share 15 was 7-8. So I had a whole bunch of stuff written up about things that needed to happen and the pros and the cons. Oho handled this all for me because I can encapsulate all of Oho's strengths and weaknesses in 2 things. On day 12, he beats Asanoyama.
Amazing.
On day 13, he loses to Azumaryu.
Horrific.
That is Oho.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's all you need to know about Oho right there. Those 2 matches.
Is it a momentum thing, do you think? Like a mental, like, he got himself hyped for Asanoyama?
This is the thing. It's like the Hoshoryu Slayer. Like, if you put enough pressure on him to it's unreasonable, he will ascend.
I get it.
And do this David and the Goliath thing.
He's Gohan.
He's Gohan. Exactly.
He's young Gohan.
So, and if it's any other level, then he's got the struggle.
I wonder why that is.
So you figure out this, you have figured out Oho.
That's a beautiful little picture there.
I will say also though that his fight with Chionokuni was great fun. This was before Chionokuni just crumpled. This reminded me of when him and Asanayama would, or Yutakiyama would go after it. Mm-hmm. They had the best brawl fights ever. The two of them would just go at it. And he got some out of this out of Chionokuni, and then he just beat the poor cripple, unfortunately.
I know. Chionokuni is just
not
so
having
beat
a good
up.
Time of it. But he also, and this is to his credit, again, we're building a resume here, Aoiyama pulls him all over the place, backwards, forward. These are strong Aoiyama pulls. Oho keeps good balance and good composure, keeps it together. And then he loses on day 8 to a guy who already had Makakoshi. Again, you win the Asanayama, you lose the Azumaryu.
Right.
What are you going to do, Oho?
Yeah, I don't think he can carry that legacy too easily.
He's got his own weird things going on, but it has nothing to do with his talent because that talent is there.
Right, exactly. One might be able to say that Asanayama has a similar issue to Oho. Like, Asanayama loses matches that he should not lose.
Yeah, that is a problem.
I mean, here's a guy who we're waiting for him to come back up to Ozeki, and he loses to Oho. So,
amusingly, if Asanayama won that match, he would have tied for the Yusho race.
I know. I can't even believe it. I saw that. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Is this the Stormy Basho? But
yep. So that's Oho. Good news with the 7 and 8. I don't see him kicking him.
Yeah.
Even though he is technically the lowest rung Makakoshi, I think the 7 and 8 saves him compared again to the 5 and 10, to the 4 and 11.
Well, what saves him is no Yokozuna up at the top because we have the extra spots.
Yeah, that too. This 5 and 10 is a very big benefit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Oho's sort of saved by his environment, but still working on it. Mm-hmm. So we've got the rest of the Banjuke is actually positive news, albeit with some struggles. So Chiyoshima, 16 East, 9 and 6.
He was actually like hanging out in 8 and 3.
He was doing pretty well.
He was with the 8 and 3 guys.
He was in right here. He was actually on the chase group. So he was part of the leaderboard, and we were all looking at each other. We're just like, that's not going to last, is it?
No.
It had like a 1% chance of something happening, but we knew it wouldn't, and it didn't. Very good to see this because he was sliding down.
Yeah, we were starting to get worried.
He was on our list. The problem is that like it didn't look like anything he was doing was different. It wasn't working out, and it finally worked. He was that little half step faster, half step stronger. It was a little thing, and maybe it was that he just finally got so far down that he was able to make it work. Maybe he had a Terunofuji style. I'm not gonna go out like this, and he scraped it together for one extra tournament. Maybe there's something in the Osaka-chenko for him,
Right.
So similar to Terunofuji, it's we're glad to see you around, but I don't know if I believe you.
Well, I don't remember seeing any Hankas from him at all. I think it was pretty much all straight on sumo, so
I'm trying to think. I don't think so.
At one point
it was his brand of sumo. I don't think he did a full Henka though. Maybe he did.
I don't remember one, but things have been interesting since he stopped hanking.
Yeah. Once he came clean,
it's going clean.
Yeah, the sober
He's
sumo.
straight edge now.
Yeah, straight and narrow sumo for him has been pretty good. But what's also good news is that the 9 and 6 will go up a little bit further.
Less concern.
Very good news. So the next two people had me holding my breath until the very last day, and I'm glad that they're still here, but the fact it took them this long, they both have a similar story with a different angle. Megashira 16 West, Tsurugisho 8 and 7. So I just love watching Tsurugisho work. Oho gave us like one of the best Tsurugisho grimaces that we've seen in some time. Mm-hmm. It was the full Tsurugisho grimace. He does such great expressions.
He does.
And we got it out of him. Always fun on the belt. Always a good challenge. He almost fell out of it, but he scraped it by at the very end, so he was able to secure his position. So he will be here with us in May, which is it's good.
Yeah, I mean he's clawing his way through his career, like it's towards the end, and he's doing everything he can to stay in the upper division.
He dug deep enough, and he got it done against Kagayaki. Now this is interesting because if he had lost this, Kagayaki would still be in the top division.
Wow, so it was kind of that's a swap. This
is a swap. This is a different take on the swap fight.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going down, you're going down.
So Tsurugi wanted it more.
Yeah,
which is again,
that's what matters.
It's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah,
struggle all you want. If you want it hard enough, sometimes you'll get it. And then we have Mitoryu, Megashira 17 East, 8-7 again. It goes down to the very last day. Strenuous. The fact that this wasn't a complete blowout is because he's been getting more aggressive. Mm-hmm. Aggressive Mitoryu wins fights because he's got the speed, he's got the size, and there's enough confidence in the technique that he can get it done. But he just has the issue dictating pace. He dictated the pace more fights, and then he wins cleanly, but it does take him the entire time to get there. He had the 0-4 start. He had to sort of rev the engine. But it's the way he'd fight. He foiled Kotowako's run. He did a very fast against Busho's on Speedy, which is like he's
that was like his okay. I don't want to lose anymore.
Yes,
I'm done with this.
Yes, he turned it around. So we that once the engine was revved, it was good to go. But it's
right. Get going.
Get going. So if he can get that urgency, that more aggression, faster, sooner, he can start to claw his way back up and a little more decisively. But until then, he's just going to be just barely there.
Scraping.
So, special prizes. Fighting Spirit prize went to Kinbozan with the 11-4 and his first ever top division.
Very encouraging.
Well deserved. The technique prize, the Gino Show, went to the finalists, Kiribayama and Daieisho. So they both got it, and then whoever got the Yusho got that on top.
Yep.
It was very nice. No outstanding performance.
I wonder.
Midorifuji was going to get something conditionally, but then lost on the last day.
Got it.
So there was going to be another one that did not pan out.
They really like to hold back.
One person always has to earn the bacon, I feel like.
Yep.
So now we're going to look at Juryo, which is going to have some very obvious lean. So Asanayama, 13-2. Definitely coming up. Ichinojo wins the Yusho, which...
He only lost to Gonoyama.
Who is the other person who's probably coming up at the 11-4. So these three guys...
Even in a Juryo 6 situation.
Well, double-digit wins usually get you that. I think Oho was like 10-5 at 7, but they really wanted Oho. So Tohaku loses on the last day. Sucks. Chionokuni, again, this is also sad. The 5-10 from Tochinoshin.
He's out of gas.
So we have a 9-6 from Shonaonoumi and a 9-6 from Enho. I don't
think they're gonna bring him up yet.
Enho is a definite no.
Yeah.
Shonaonoumi, I'm like maybe, but I see them being right here. Mm-hmm. So then we have Asanayama, Ichinojo, and then Gonoyama coming up for May. That's my guess. That's my bet. For the bottom of the rung. Tomokaze 8-7 scrapes it by, and Ochiai double-digit wins.
The hype is real.
He's looking really nice.
He did lose to Ichinojo and Asanayama, so it shows he's got work to do. But man, for the last rung in Juryo to go 10-5,
and that is with what I will call 2 guaranteed losses.
Yeah.
So he had a 2-loss handicap, and he went 10-5.
Yeah.
So very, very promising, very fun, and
it looks like Tokushoryu is going out of salary.
He's gone. Yeah. Tamashoho, who's Tamawashi's stablemate, 8-7 on his debut.
Brother-in-law.
Yes. And
Takakento 10-5.
Yeah. So there's some good stuff.
Gotta get some Takas back up into the conversation since we have lost more Takas than we've gained. Mm-hmm. Every other day there's another Taka.
Yeah. So that is Sumo in March.
It was a wild one. It was full of some of the lowest lows and some of the highest highs, as a Stormy Basho should be.
Yeah.
I could do without the lows, but, you know, it is what it is. And we've really enjoyed all the live streams. We've enjoyed all the comments people are making. It's just so much more fun when we can go back and forth and interact with you guys. So put in as many comments as you want on the recap. Any thoughts that we didn't bring up that you think of, and you know, we'll talk beyond the tournament. Maybe we'll do a live stream where I just show up one night and you can talk about whatever sumo you want to talk about. You know, just to keep this little community thing we got going strong.
Sumo forum.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yep. Thanks as always for being with us. May, I feel like, will be here in a blink of an eye.
It will.
So,
we'll end up doing a preview show probably last week in April or something, or first week in May.
First week in May. Yeah, around then.
So we'll be back no matter what before you know it.
Before you know it. Thank you again, and see you later.
Bye.